Archer.
Yeah, that's where we'll start. I mean, that is before. That's before Untitled Chapter even came out. That's what's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have gone through all the different editions, I guess, and looked at how powerful all their crossbows and stuff are in different editions.
Well, yeah.
But I know the recent editions, and you know the older editions, so we might be able to figure something out.
We changed. That's a good point, because we changed our crossbow damage because of the newer editions, because it made sense, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's a good point.
And in a way, I think they have, if you try to bring a little bit of realism into it, they have opposite strengths and weaknesses, and that's something we should discuss. So in a way, in the game system, I think you should enhance those differences even more, because that makes it more interesting.
And that's what hey, Tino and Dorgrim, good to see you. That's exactly what we've always attempted to do. Was not to min-max the character, but to create a difference between each class, something that only that class has, and that's a great discussion point.
The difference between crossbow using and
yep.
Bows and crossbows have different strengths.
They have there's a huge difference to them, you know, especially in the D&D terms. Everyone's doing well out there. For Sunday night, just watch a great AFC Championship game. Oh my God, you have strep, Tino? Holy, well, at least you're getting antibiotics for that. Oh my gosh. Hey, Stefan, good to see you, man. Oh man, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the only saving grace about strep. You get antibiotics for it, and it kind of knocks it out right away. Wow. Is it because of school? The kids? Man. I hated getting strep. I mean, I haven't had it in a couple of years. It's just, what an awful feeling that is. You can't swallow, it burns. It's like your throat's on fire. Yeah, that's a brutal feeling, man. Dave, what's up, man? 25 months for you. That's awesome. Very cool. Whew. Recovering from a fun night last night.
Yeah, that was a great game.
Yeah, they're awesome. And I'm waiting for 100% confirmation for our very special guest for the next 2-drink minimum game. Just checking to make sure he doesn't have an acting conflict. But if he does, we'll push it back a week or two into March, and then that'll solve that problem. So. Yeah. I appreciate it. If you have a 3D printer and you haven't done Tribes yet, at my mini factory, Infinite Dimensions Games, it's $10 a month, and everything that comes out that month is you get. So it's a pretty good deal. That should be the link to their Tribes and to their storefront. You know. So, what's up, darling? Us lovely people. That's you, darling. Come on. The funniest thing was, and I don't know if this was live or not, was I think it was post-stream. Darling started talking about getting the egg off of Bones' character, and Bones got all indignant, and it's like, she said, "You have your tattoo, I have my egg." I think that was offline, actually. Yeah, she's gonna take the egg. Not because she wants to parry it, because she wants to eat it. It was hysterical. Oh my gosh, that was funny. That was so funny. Oh my gosh, it made me laugh. That was classic. Thank you, Tino. I had a blast. Yeah, it would make a large omelet. Yeah, true. So we got the ever mysterious Tim joining us at some point. Anna is. I'll re-renew it, Stefan. I think you're already in there, and I'll re-renew it. When it comes up. Naz, 42-month subscriber. Crazy. Lurking is cool. I love lurks. I love the lurk. Lurk away. I got 2 lurks. What's up, Sparky? Sparky's been like on a giveaway roll. Ooh, are they? What are they? What are the new special effects? I can't wait. I wish you could save and re-edit existing pictures. That's the only thing I wish that they were able that you could do in that. Oh, spells and spells would be cool. Ooh, because I got to make some spellcasters up too. So that's a good thing. Now I got to hit this button here. So, well, that would be a great thing, to be able to go in and re-edit them, save the file somehow. Because I got, but the problem is, I don't know if you'll be able to do it on old ones, but, new. I can always re-edit stuff and make some new stuff. All right, cool. Relaxing's good. Relaxing's a good thing. So Troll Lord stepped up tonight. We got some good giveaways from Troll Lord. I got one in house too from Patrick for standard classic D&D reprint options. If we, see where we get here. I love NPCs. I love PCs. I love them all. Right? I got Gabbin's. Oh, thanks, Kai. I think I got Gabbin's planned. And,
yeah?
I think I have Gabbin's set through at least February 27th. 6th to 13th. Yeah. The 13th is Super Bowl. It's out, and it'll be on the 14th, Monday night.
Yeah.
6th, 14th, 20th. Because the 14th and 20th are pre and post fundraisers.
Yeah.
27th, Ed Greenwood's coming back on the villains one we were talking about. Ed and I were been talking directly about that. So yeah, that's good. Next week's DM's Roundtable. Yeah, we got next 4 Gabbins are set.
Usually good planning or long-term planning, so to speak.
That's a good thing. So we just got to worry about Legends and Lores. We got to get Dewey Carthorne on, right? We got to get him on.
Yeah, we should get him on.
Yeah, we need to get him on.
Been on Earth Hero.
I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
And see if he wants to come on. See what he wants to talk about. At 6:55, we're in good shape here. Time-wise, it's perfect. So, remember when I said I forgot to do something? What was that, Wednesday night? I never changed the title.
See, that's
that was it. But
the most common issue with Twitch streamers is that you see that when the notification email comes out, it's like you just leave your watch list
right. Missile fire classes. I can't believe I haven't really talked about this in like it's got to be a year and a half. I think it was Gabbin 27. We did delving into the damage dealers or something crazy like that, and it was that long ago.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And that wasn't just about missile fire. That was about all the major DPS classes. Hey, Syndicate and Elber's Vendetta, good to see ya. So that was a while ago. So let's see what we got here. Long screen like this. Of course. Long screen. Talking to myself, everyone, sorry. It's not just one thing in Twitch, it's everything. Little things that drive me crazy. Tim Enoch, hope you had fun today in the Wily game. Good to see you playing. I've really been just chilling out today. I had a backlog of experience. So, experienced multiple groups. So I had to get a little, I could see it. You know, so getting all that fun stuff done. Hey Keith, good to see you. Good evening, everyone. Jay, aka Lord Kazamba, finishing the fourth of 4 weeks with at least 4 streams, Anna. One with 5. Yeah. This has been the marathon month of January.
All of a sudden, 4 streams doesn't feel that much because you're used to 5.
Next week's going to be like, excuse me, 3 streams. What? Yeah, next week. So yeah. I got Anna Meyer with me.
Easy week.
Yeah, a nice relaxed week. And Tim, the ever mysterious Tim, will be on, and there's also a chance that we'll have Chuck Cumbo from Troller Games on, just depending on his schedule. So note that we do have some cool giveaways from them, and we'll up the pot. You know, if we something, you know, get a little hype train here and there, we'll up it even more. But so I was just saying to Anna, like, I think this is one of those class discussions that what's the word would be like my campaign. When you think of this stuff, you think of what I do in my campaign, and that is we stress the missile fire character class. We stress a lot of them just beyond the Elven Cavalier Archer, which we're going to talk about. We that's like it's in the miniatures and with distances and all. It's a huge thing, you know. And a lot of other games, I think everyone can do it, right? Like you got thieves shooting and backstabbing, you know, getting you got spellcasters shooting with crossbows, and us it's specialized. It's a lot of specialty classes. So I don't know about 3rd edition, and I know you play Pathfinder a lot.
Third edition Pathfinder 1. That was they were kind of overpowered if you just went by the book. They were overpowered, but there are a lot of other stuff that should go into the discussion that we will get into during these 2 hours, because there is more to it than the just basic mechanics when it comes to missiles.
Who's overpowered? Are you talking about me again?
Yeah.
Of course, the ever mysterious Tim. Welcome everyone for Tim, and thank you all for coming on, and thank you for such a crazy January so far. And February is going to be a little toned down as far as, but it's still going to be pretty crazy. I think we're gonna have a blast. So Tim, first thing that comes to mind when we say missile fire class in your game or my game.
First thing that comes to mind, class wise,
or whatever comes to mind.
The first thing that comes to my mind is somebody smart.
Okay,
is the first one, because it's just a smart way to run. You know, you want to injure the people away from you before they get close enough to hurt you. So that's just and then of course the primary sniper archer is of course the archer class created by,
and that's who we're going to start
with.
The
one and only.
And because we're going to start with a timeline scenario, and that predates Unearthed Arcana even, right? So that's where we're gonna start on that, and go and explain to everyone like how we got to where we are, which there's people with good characters, like Anna's character Imri's good with a bow, and she's a ranger magic user, right? So there's other people who are good with bows, so it doesn't have to be that archer class, which is really cool.
Correct.
And good to see everyone rolling in here. And please, this is going to be. We're going to talk about my game, and Anna will talk about hers. And what Tim does is different than even what I do. But this, hopefully, you can apply this to whatever edition you're playing too. And we're also going to talk Castles and Crusades as well. So note that some of you may have this. I'm going to give you two options here, and we'll add to it. So let me set up the giveaways. So Chuck has, and I know, Mike, you're not a fan of this book that much, but we're going to give it away. I think I remember you saying this, Mike Saxton, and that is the Adventurer's Backpack in digital. So I'm going to give away right now. Did that go? There it goes. A digital copy of that. But for I know a lot of people may have it. So the other option is this. You get your choice. All right. Some of you may have these too, but for the third one, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll go a lot beyond that with. So we got 2 digital backpacks and your choice of either of these two, the Tomb of Abyssor or the Vortex of Madness. Both very cool, really mega adventure settings. One is, this was by Chris Pramus, and then who wrote it? Tomb of Abyssor. Clark Peterson and Bill Webb. Oh, okay, Bill Webb himself, they're both fantastic. So that'll give you some options there. It's not a bad book. I'm just not a fan of the 13 additional classes, except the Archer, which is in my. There you go. Well, we're going to talk about that tonight, Mike. So that's perfect. So yes. So there you go. We'll have that. We have 3 giveaways, and if we get any kind of hype train, I may double it. So courtesy of Chuck. So
nice.
The Tomb of Abyssor, GD. This is probably one of the best Necromancer game modules ever written. And you can ask, I think Mike. You can ask a couple other Elestrion, who's written it. Assure the Bear has run this too, and it's fantastic. And this Vortex of Madness is kind of another Planar Pearls. It's a Chris Pramus book. We talked about it when he was on live, so it's neat too. And that'll give you an option there. Careful Cantrip. Good to see you, Dave. Hang out, man. We're gonna have a cool discussion here, and hopefully we can help you out with Anna and Tim. And note one quick shout out because Careful Cantrip was on the last DM's roundtable discussion. The next DM's roundtable discussion is right around the corner. It is next weekend, next Sunday. Look at this crew. I got Robert Hartley himself, Robert Hartley GM on. I got Molly, MJ Russell played last night, and another Dave from Guild Superior on. And Anna and I are going to grill them. Well, not grill them. We're going to talk to them about their D&D play styles and some other topics. That'll be a great one, and that's next Sunday. So note another fun. That'll be our 10th DM's roundtable I've had in all these years. Anna, my God, has it been that long? Yeah. So that'll be a fun. We had Darling, and we had Paul from Hops and Dragons and Dave from Careful Cantrip on last time. Awesome, cool, man. Good to see you on, Dave. All right, so here we go on this discussion. I'm going to flip screens here. Hopefully I hit the right screen. I'm not going to go to the. I'll probably go to the Mongrel the Putrid Tongue screen by accident. All right. Dragon number 45. So you go back.
The dragon that would live in infamy.
Yes, you go back to the early days of D&D when Player's Handbook's out. And you have fighters, you have rangers, you have paladins, clerics, druids, mages, illusionists, assassin, thief, monk. I think I didn't miss any, right? That's it. So we all know, for those, a lot of you haven't been around the last year, but before that, our friend Leonard Lakofka, who was on the show 40 times, and you got to watch some of those old shows. It's just Len is genius. Comes up with an idea. There needs to be more classes in basic D&D. I'm going to write a whole bunch of them. We did an entire episode with Len on just all the classes he made. It's like 15 classes, including some goofy ones that are really fun, like the entertainers, right, Tim?
Yeah.
And the alchemist and all sorts of other things. But in this, and we're going to go, here we go to Leomund's Tiny Hut, which was Len's subcategory.
His column or something.
His column, yes, Anna.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to Leomund's Tiny Hut, page 32. And go to, and look at how small the print is in this old.
Well, it was That was
Silicon
expensive
Fangs.
to do stuff.
He was Lehman's tiny
There you
hut.
go. Yeah.
Yep, here we go. So, oh, thank you. Oh, we're 100 away from a hype already. So, Missile Fire in the Archer subclass, Lehman's Tiny Hut, Len Lakofka. Now, if you want a hard copy of this article, I know I'm covered up by Legend of the Secret Ladies all the time. Not a bad thing though. You don't need to get a Dragon 45. You just need to get my favorite publication of all time, right, Tim? It's in here. I've given away 7 of them, and we're at what, almost 7,350. 8,000. I'll give another one away. Every 1,000 followers, a Best of Dragon Volume 3 goes out in hard copy, and not a reprint, an original. So I hoard them. So Len's like talking in this article about, first of all, he goes over to Missile Fire and how he wants to make it more realistic. Now, Len goes over detailed, if you knew Len, to the point of tediousness sometimes. Is that a word, tediousness?
Yes. So
Yes.
sounds like it. Yeah.
Yes. So, and Leonard was real, he talks about target size and range adjustments. And here we go.
Which is a real factor.
It is, but it'll bog the game down. It's just like, it's also like versus weapon, armor versus weapon type. Which
Well,
yeah,
you could reduce the number of categories.
yeah, true. So broadside of a barn, Len coin, So Len goes over this, and this is something you can utilize in your game if you want more realism on firing with, and this is with the ranges in here as well. These are archer ranges that he has in here. So he has these ranges in here. What the hell's point blank? No one at this point knows what point blank is in D&D. It doesn't exist until Len comes around. And then
It doesn't exist in game mechanics.
Exactly. It doesn't exist in game mechanics till Len decides it exists in a game mechanic. So Len keeps on talking here. And then he's like, well, if it's really hard to hit, you got to roll twice, which is, the math here is very difficult, as you can see on that. But then he comes up with a new non-player character class, Archers and Archer Rangers. And the floodgates open. One of a great class. Now, anti-paladins have been in the articles before this, but you really don't want people player chaotic evil characters running around. And no matter everyone what John at Blue Box says, anti-paladins are chaotic evil. They're not lawful evil, right, Tim?
Correct.
Yes. So that's an argument that John's never going to win between Tim, me, and Rob Phantom. They're chaotic evil, but I'll give him a shout out.
They're the diametric opposite of paladins.
Yes, yes, and careful cantrip. Where is this? Oh, man. Yes, they are. They're diametrically opposite of paladins. So he starts building up a class, which is really cool. Has spell ability, which kind of doesn't make much sense, but is neat anyway, right? Casting limited spells here, which we still have in our game to this day.
It's for the higher secrets, the higher guild secrets of archery.
Yes, it's a good way to look at it. And then he also talked in here, which was ahead of its time. There's level limits in here for humanoids to be archers. A lot of people don't know that, but there are. So he's actually thinking about, your gnoll or your bugbear.
They're
or your
fun to throw at the party.
Yes, so they're in here too, and this is in what year is this? What's this volume? This January of '81. This is not thought of, in the game because a lot of people are like, humanoids, they got to hit dice and that's it. But Len's thinking ahead here, and then these tables come up here, and this is the meat. Let me see if I can blow this up. This is the meat and potatoes of Len's genius. He's got a scaling chart for hits and damage. Yep, thank you, BB Fan Fun. He's got this great scaling chart. Yeah, long before that. I mean, I don't even have. I don't have my Commodore VIC 20 yet. I don't think. I think maybe it's close. It was close at that time. Yeah, Atari's out, but no. The VIC 20 and the Commodore 64 is definitely not out at this point. He has a table for running an Archer and Archer Ranger. He's got these ranges. Now, these ranges change the whole scope of ranges for missile fire in D&D. Because if you go to your back of your player's handbook, which I have here somewhere, I thought I did. Oh, here it is. If you go to your player's handbook, your longbow ranges go out 70, 140, 210, I think, and that's it in feet.
Yeah.
So right now you got short range out to 210.
Or remember they were playing yards.
They're playing yards. Yeah, they were playing yards, and they were
And-
playing yards. This is all in feet.
And
Yeah.
210 yards is that's a good long shot
It is.
for longbow.
Yeah, this is in feet though. He says everything here is feet for him.
Right, but he makes it out to 600 and something, right?
He does, which is 210 yards.
Close to 210. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Mule on the Commodore 64, and of course Wasteland was the best of all time on the Commodore, and Bard's Tale were all on the Commodore 64 back in the day. So they get 8-sided die, double dice, just like the Ranger does. It's not a Ranger subclass unless you're playing the Archer Ranger. It's a fighter subclass, and they're really not very good in melee combat. So whereas a fighter got 3 attacks every 2 rounds at 7th, and Ranger's 8th, Archers don't get it to 9th. So, in our game, what do you do to an archer? Besides blast and spell, you close on them. Yeah. So that was another neat thing. And with this comes the chart that makes the archer what it is, and that is these pluses are crazy. If you notice at 6th level, point blank, here's your double specialization range that we will talk about in 1983, 84, 85 that pops out in Art Arcana. +3 to hit, +3 damage. But look at a 9th level archer, +5, +4 point blank, which is this new range 10 to 50. They're blasting.
Right, but Jay actually though with the specialization for a bow, the best you get is +2/+2.
But
at point blank.
But we're going to talk about the difference. There's a huge difference between the two.
Yes,
the dice.
I know.
Yes. See, Tim tried to trick me there.
No. Not a trick.
Well, yes, but you use it to this day, so that's one of the differences. So I've tweaked this a little bit. I don't allow. There's a thing in here where a +1 bow acts as a +2 bow in an archer's hands. I allow it plus the arrows. I only allow it for the arrows because it's just too crazy. It's way too nuts. So I took that out, but I allow like a +1 arrow because they get destroyed after use.
I allow it.
Yeah, you allow it, and that's the difference between both of us here. But you're talking about some +9, +8 to hits with magic bows, arrows in this table, and your elf if you're an elf +1, and if you have dexterity of 18, another +3. You're talking about some crazy stuff. So this archer, and Anna has an archer thief, right, Anna? Yeah, Nira is, but she's like 4th level, so she's up here. She's right here. She's at this ring.
Class, it takes forever to level up. So
that's true, and she's multi-class, so it takes for yes. This table, by the way, here, this experience table is worse than a regular ranger, so it takes a while to level up as it is with an archer. So this comes out in 81, and this is the first class that we put into our game. Before supplemental that wasn't made that I didn't make. This is the first one. Was the archer, and it stayed in for a while. Walt played the first archer, Pete Moss, and we found out how overpowered it is immediately, very early. I didn't favorite enemy Ranger Harley, yes, but that's only melee. That's not missile. You can't favorite enemy in a missile combat. If you did, that would be disgusting for an Archer Ranger. yeah, that would be a game.
Even I don't do that.
Yeah, that would be nuts. But hey, Tom the Vindicator. Yes, we had some good times. Yes, we had a character generator back then on the Commodore 64 we used in D&D. I had an alignment tester program I made up. I wish I still had that. It was pretty good. It was a lot of fun back then. Tom, we all worked at RCA. I don't know if anyone knows what RCA Victor is now, back in the day, but we found these they had those things where they're trying to break the codes on the Commodores, and they had these diodes you would attach in the back, and we would get them from RCA and we'd actually duplicate them. I mean, the technology was so primitive back then; it was funny. Yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, this is the Archer class. They can't wear plate mail. That's something. They can wear up to bandit armor in the game. They can wear bracers, of course. You only get 2 weapons to start, so they get less weapons than a ranger or a fighter. They can't specialize in any other weapon. Their melee combat is subpar, extremely subpar. But they are the bane of the spellcaster by far. In my game especially, they are the bane. They will slaughter a wizard quickly if you don't stop them. How do you stop an archer in a game, my game, Anna or Tim, or both? What would you do? Let's see what Anna. What would you do? What would you do
Well,
to your
you
own character?
engage one of their friends, so you're kind of in melee. That way they will not shoot at you.
Yes, that's a great point. Melee yes, because we all know 5th edition you can shoot in a melee combat, and we can't do that in first. You can in 1st edition, and if you miss, you got to re-roll because combat's not static. You got to re-roll against your own.
The easiest, cheapest, quickest solution is the same solution as if you're under a sniper fire, and that is obscurement. So if you can just put a darkness between you and him, he's out of commission, can't do anything until he moves and repositions. So obscurement, if he's not using magical, if it's low level, warp wood on his bow.
That's when you
invisibility.
Yeah.
But obscurement is the cheapest and easiest one to do, I think.
Yeah, and in role-playing games, you usually see the shooter, so to speak. He's usually not hidden away half a mile away, like in real life.
Right, but even if they're shooting at you and you don't know where they are, boom, darkness, 50-foot radius. You can run out that
smoke,
back of that.
Darkness, something like that. Yep.
Yes, darling. Bones almost killed Kirsten's Myriad's Kazara, the half-orc, last night in a miss on a reshot. Like missed by, if she'd rolled too higher, because I only had 2 hit points left. It would have been, because
she had a blue on blue.
Yeah, exactly. So, so note this: a question came up about Rangers. Old school Rangers could wear plate mail. The old school Ranger was a weapon and shield Ranger. It was not a dual wielding Ranger in 1 edition. You could wear plate mail, believe it or not, as a Ranger. And
are you sure?
I'm positive. Tim's going to check.
Tim, you realize
Let's
they
check
said
just
that
to
you
be
can
sure.
do something, then don't say against him. So
There's Bones. You did. See, Bones and Darling have been at each other, and I said to this Anna when we first started, I think it happened off stream where Darling's character last night, Rosie, once that parried an egg so bad from Devin that like they were going back and forth. It was hysterical. So yeah, so she goes still. Oh my gosh, it was funny. Oh my God. But Bones didn't find it amusing, which I think that's the angriest I've ever, the most fired up I've ever seen Bones ever. It was great. Sorry, but yeah. Hey, Adam, good to see you. It's been a while, man. I'm glad to see your game on Friday nights. Dragonlance is still going really well. There's back and forth. I can't wait to have that group go together again. So Tim is verifying this for me. So one way, get everyone in melee combat, which is tough because wizards don't want a melee combat. 2, sick someone else after that archer, right? That's a good way of doing it. Assign a quick moving character to get up there wherever that archer is and take that person.
Any armor,
out.
any.
I told you, man. You didn't believe me.
Yeah.
Why
well, it's good to verify. Trust but verify, Jay. Trust but verify.
Trust but verify. Yes. Let me shout you out, Adam.
Do they change that in Unearthed Arcana?
No, they didn't. They didn't change it in Unearthed Arcana. That ranger, the dual wielding ranger, I think is a 3rd edition thing. Yeah, the dual wielding ranger where they get the free 2 fist fighting.
Well, yeah, you choose your fighting style.
I think
I don't really like that.
3rd edition.
Well, we set it up as an option, right? Because just there we go. So, Bill the Master Crafter. Good evening, all. Yes, 3rd edition is Bill the Master Crafter says.
Being able to do that is a good idea, except there's enough historical evidence to suggest that it's not the primary best way because it's not used that often.
Right.
And there's reasons why.
Yep. Mandy, good to see you too.
There's certain pairings that are used.
Well, true. So you got to remember those early classes were based on a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff, right? There's another careful cantrip too. Please follow everyone that I've linked. Please, because it says specifically in there, and there's no reason for this in D&D. that I could ever think of. It says no more than 3 Rangers may operate together at any time, Anna. It says that in the
Yeah.
player's handbook. What's that all about, right?
Well, I think it's a lot of things in order to make a game that is, they see it from a game perspective, not from a world perspective or like a camp setting perspective or any of that. It's to make interesting mechanics, and it's also a way to narrow each character's range of possible what they can do.
Thanks, sure.
So you want to have very narrow characters, because that means that if you have a party, there is very little overlap. You want to.
I think.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
good.
I'm sorry.
It's a good
No,
point.
no, I was saying 4th edition had some interesting, because
2
then
Ventures back.
then they even had
Digital.
official things like controllers and damage. I forgot what one was, a controller, one was like a damage dealer, one was a healer. So you had official roles that even had names on them, and that is something that is when you gamify and you kind of you emphasize the gaming aspect of D&D, so to
Right.
speak, meaning you see it as a game, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that is one play style. If you enhance that part of the game, things like, and the class perspective, I think, came from that, and the fact that in wargaming you had a lot of stuff like that in order to identify and kind of typify, or it was a way to silo in things in order to make it easy for people and to force people to make choices. You didn't want to have like jack of all trades. D&D has in many ways always tried to get away from characters that can do a little bit of everything. They're supposed to be narrow and focused, so you can kind of, so they were dependent on each other, which is kind of fun in a lot of ways. Yeah,
It is. But why not 3? Why does it say you can't have 3 paladins operating together?
I think. Well, I
Or-
think they.
yeah.
I think that they thought those characters were so powerful that if there was 3 of them in a party, it would unbalance the game. You know, like 3 Rangers. What if they run into orcs? They'll kill them. I'm like, yeah, but who cares if they kill them really fast? Who gives a crap? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
and it was
See how
supposed to
long
be
it
the
takes them to go up
loners.
to 2nd level.
Exactly.
It'll all balance out.
Yeah.
It'll
all
and it was
balance
supposed to be
out.
the loners and so on. So
That's it.
was-
That's it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that
yeah,
comes
they-
from Lord
yeah,
of the
but-
Rings, though. That's where the
Yeah.
loner of the
Just
Ranger
the Lord of the
comes
Rings,
from.
right?
Mhm.
What about Elladan and Elro here, Elrond's sons? They were like Rangers. They were out together doing
Yeah.
stuff. And
Mhm.
and what about when he calls the Great Company? They all come.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it was back then. It was like instead of when you had something that was not supposed to happen in world, then you put a mechanical stopper on it, so to speak, in the rules. You didn't
I don't
want
like
to.
it.
Exactly, me neither. I think these arbitrary things are just ridiculous in a way. There was but that was part of 1st edition culture, and there
Yes.
were some good reasons for
Yep,
it, but there are
absolutely.
also good reasons against it, so to speak. But it also depends on your play style, what you want out of the game,
Yep.
so to speak.
I would
That's,
say
think,
you could have more than one, but one of them's in charge. So someone
up,
has to be
Laren?
the boss.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
and this is one of my first question is archers only bows, not crossbows?
So here's the thing. There's 3 different types of bows archers can use that lend specific.
Okay.
Great question.
Yeah.
Lengths, and I'm not sure if this article highlights that as much. Here it is. Long composite bow, long bow, great bow.
Okay.
Notice the
Yep.
longbow has the longest range at the bottom here. And this is with
Mhm.
exceptional strength bows, which are very rare and non-magical.
Yeah.
We don't even need to get into that, but yeah,
Well,
that's an
it's
extra
kind of
pull.
makes sense. You can
Yeah.
simply have a
But those that mirrors reality, though.
exactly.
held
You
some.
can have
Good
stronger
seeing.
bows that can push
Vancouver!
things with more force.
Glad you're all here
kind of
hanging.
makes sense. Yeah.
Please put your input in chat on this too, because we're just giving a history of how the Missile Fire class started, and then we're going to go over a whole bunch of other options for you. So
Yeah.
I think that there should be more reflection on bows, and so you get bows rated for certain strengths, so they cost more if they get the more strong they are.
That was something that came in 3rd edition really well. You had standard bows, composite bows. You had built for certain strength that added damage to them and stuff. So they got a reality and a diversity update in 3rd edition that I think was kind of cool.
If I go shooting with my daughter and she's using a bow with a 30-pound pull at 28 inches or 26 inches, and I'm using one with a 55-pound pull or 60-pound pull, who's going to have an arrow hit harder?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Who's going to shoot further?
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting, meaning, first of all, I think it's kind of interesting to dig into crossbows versus bows, and that is one of the I think interesting that often gets confused or kind of overseen a little bit. It seems to be in some games, and I think in some D&D games, it's more like flavor. I use a bow or I use a crossbow, but there are interesting differences between crossbows and bows, and bows are, and now I'm very simplify this very much, so to speak, to just make it in D&D terms easy. They are fast, fiddly, and difficult to master. That's basically bows. And crossbows are slow, clunky, and they're easy to learn to shoot, so to speak. And there is a reason why you had a lot of crossbows in organized forces back in medieval times, because they were easy to learn.
We'll get there.
And so on. You could put someone in. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, it's good.
I will agree with you and say that they're easier to learn how to fire in a munitions way with it, in mass.
But not to mass, not.
But then you have.
But I think mastering still is hard.
Oh yeah, mastering is still hard, but you can get someone to be useful in combat with a crossbow faster than you can with the bow. And then you have the other kind of interesting difference is that the crossbow use a heavier bolt than an arrow or a bow uses.
Right.
And that means that the crossbow has a more direct trajectory, meaning you can aim at things more directly. With the bow is more indirect trajectory, so to speak. As soon as you get away from like short range, so to speak, you have to start lobbying in the shots with the bow much faster or at shorter range than you have to do with a crossbow.
You have you don't have the archer's paradox. With the traditional bows, you have the archer's paradox, which is, you have the shaft of the bow and the string is in line with the shaft, but the arrow is to the side of it. So as that string accelerates the back of the arrow, it's accelerating it towards the middle of that shaft, but the arrow is being pushed out to the side of it, which causes the arrow to flex in flight. So it changes trajectory. That's called the archer's paradox. And so the good archers all know this, so they can fire.
Exactly. But that takes longer to master because it's less. A crossbow is more intuitive, so to speak. You aim and you
because
shoot at
they're lying straight, and you shoot, and there's no cutaway, there's no thing to go around, and so it's shooting it straight on a channel, and the bolts are thicker and don't flex like that.
Exactly. That means that they're more like rifle bullets than arrows are from
Scottish.
The bow.
So Scottish Jeff, let's just put that out there. So, and we'll jump ahead.
All right.
We changed damage. I don't know if Tim did, but I did. So we're like, no one's using crossbows in our game. How do we fix it? And that's the way I came at it. Maybe it's from realism too. Go, Tim.
I did. Remember, I had my one guy.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Light crossbow bolts in my game do 1d8. Versus medium and large. Heavy crossbow bolts do 1d10 versus medium and large. Arrows do 1 to 6.
Yeah. What I did in when I played 3.5 and Pathfinder 1 was that I gave that they both did pretty good damage. D8 was standard on a heavy crossbow and the longbow, but both, so to speak. But the difference was that the arrow, a good bowman can shoot more attacks, so to speak. But the thing was that you have to take more feats and spend more of your skill budget and your feat budget in order to get those benefits of a bow. So you can kind of push it. If you want to be a bow specialist and you add some feats, you get a number of attacks you could shoot at really long distance. If you didn't take it and you just were just learning the bow basic, you get 2 attacks and you can only shoot at short range, so to speak. If you couldn't snipe at long distance, in order to do that, you need to take a lot of extra feet. The crossbow didn't require that many extra feet, and it did the same amount of damage. The problem was that it was clunky. It took a long time to learn, and in order to take the crossbow and reload it quickly, you had to take feats. You had to take several equal amount of feats in order to fire off it with it. So it was basically you got accuracy and damage in a single round, more like like sniper. If you didn't want to spend that many feats or on it, and you wanted to snipe someone, then crossbow was probably your option. But if you wanted to shoot at a lot of enemies at long distance and do a lot of damage, and you were willing to spend feats, the bow was your
right.
Or bring a lot of friends.
Well,
Yeah.
we're talking third edition rules now, as far as the
Oh
feats
yeah,
go.
exactly. And
we're talking third.
Yeah. And there you have the other kind of interesting aspect that rarely comes to use in most role-playing games, and that is mass firing. Because that was something that you did a lot, meaning in medieval times, you didn't have like small artillery, like mortars and other heavy weapons that we have in today's conflicts. So a lot of that was the main use of the longbow, was actually to mass up 50 or 100 or sometimes even 500 or 1,000 longbowmen who simply aimed at the same general area and then fired on command and flung away hundreds of arrows at a time from like a company or a battalion or whatever they call themselves. And that is a very interesting alternative to spells. And that is something you rarely put. I have that in my games. I've had
really
it very often.
It's really difficult to manage in a game.
It's not. You just treat it as a spell. A spell, it's an area effect.
You treat an area effect.
It's an area effect. If you're in the area, you take this much damage. And sometimes I simply say you take this much damage, and then you simply use your armor class to deduct. So the higher armor class you have, the less the less points. So if you were in an area and there were lots of bowmen who shot, then you might get 40 points of damage if you were in that area that round. But if you have 20,
don't have a helmet on, you take double.
No, but yeah, but if you had like 20 in armor class, you only took half of it. And then if you make a save, you took half again. So you just make a save each round and deduct it. And that meant that if you were running across the field, every round you took probably a beating, so to speak. And that was especially devastating for horses and other unprotected ones out there that have low armor class. That's probably one of the reasons that horse barding was invented too, because that meant that horses, if you look at horse barding, it's not so much to defend from the front, it's to defend from above as well. And that's why so horses can be protected from flying around arrows that came popping in.
Well, Scottish Jeff had mentioned something. I want to go back to it. And
Sure.
he talked about point blank range. And I'll say first edition, Scottish Jeff, it has a larger point blank range than bows. Bows have a 30-foot and crossbows have a 60-foot.
Yep.
They
point
do.
blank.
And the archer class has a 50-foot.
And yes, right. And so now, as written, Jay, do we want to talk about specialization as written?
Yeah, that's why I have the Arcana up.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
sorry.
Between the Arcana comes out as a supplement to Player's Handbook, changes the game completely because of weapon specialization. And here we are on page 18. Okay, weapon specialization. Now, they cover everything. Melee. This is for
trivia question. What module had the first specialization featured in it?
That's a great trivia question.
Yeah.
I know. Jay knows.
Come on, anyone? Bueller?
I have no clue, so don't ask me.
No, it's not. No, it's not a dragon. It's an actual adventure.
It's an actual published adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard one to get too.
Okay.
I mean, it's a hard one to
go for it, Tim.
Hidden Shrine of Temujin.
Yes, it did. That's
and
old.
This person was a cleric.
Yes,
it was one of the pre-generated.
That's how C1. C1. Yep. That long ago. So we're talking 78, 78, 79 for that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Dragonlance had prestige classes in it as well. So Ars Arcana comes out and throws the game into a loop as far as fighters go, because now weapon specialization, they go from 1 attack around at first level to 3 every 2 with your specialized weapon and get +1 hit +2 damage. But you can double specializing and make it +3/+3. Weapon slots are going away now. More specialized characters are coming. This is still in the era of first edition. But let's up it more. Bows. And here's where fighters and rangers, no paladins. Longshore composites. So they get +2 to hit and damage at point blank, and double dice at this range too, which I never did, but Tim does. I know Carlos does it too, still to this day, because I prefer the Archer over this. I allow them to do it still. And I'll give you an example why. Crossbows specialist, 6 to 60 feet, +2 to hit. Did you ever notice that crossbow gets +1 to hit at medium, but bows don't on this table, Tim? So the crossbow actually gets an extra plus where the bow doesn't.
Right. I guess they aimed. I guess they're looking at the sighted because
Right.
you can aim down it straight.
Clark's not a required class in 1E and 2E. Clark's for us is a multi-class option instead of a specialty priest for us. So I guess the answer to that is yes and no, Calico, in that range. Is there double damage dice on the crossbow too?
Yes.
Oh
Yep.
my god! Yeah, another thing I don't
Yeah.
do.
In third edition, they boasted 3 points or 3 times on critical hits. So they were
On critical,
nasty.
this is normal hits.
Oh yeah, but but then
My
you had the
gosh.
different critical effects and
Well,
and they were
specialized.
nasty.
Specialized. Well, I
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we at some point do we want to voice our argument for and against what our decisions are? Or do you want to just hit
Please
it?
go on. Yeah.
Let's wait to do that then, right? You want to wait to
Yeah, because let me
argue
finish
our
these
points?
tables real quick, then we'll do that. Other missile
All right, very
weapons. Other missile weapons. Hammers, daggers, axes, +1, +2. Now you can't double here, but you also it also says that somewhere you get the range increase. So you get this, so you can have a melee, you can have a hand hurled fighter specialist, and we have some in our game. And then here's the double specialization, and this is for only melee weapons. And you can't do it, so note that. But we're talking missile here. So here's your question: why allow bow specialization if you have an archer class, Tim?
Because they specialize, they're focusing on different things. The bow specialization is in close quarters combat, and their focus is hitting the enemy specifically in close quarters combat, because that's where their advantages lie. The archer is your long range precision specialist, not necessarily, through his precision, he is doing more damage over time and can reach out further and further and further because he's more of a professional. The specialist is focusing up on the up close, fast combat. That's my argument for it.
Well,
And also, Saracen archers had speed requirements for firing historically, and would carry three arrows between each of their fingers and actually go blam 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 and fire 3 arrows. And it was a requirement for like their 40 pace, the target at 40 paces. There was a requirement to actually have all 3 arrows in the air before the first arrow hit. And so the multiple shots replicate kind of reality as well. It's just that it's only good up close.
So here's
That's my argument.
here's another reason. Halflings, they don't short bows, right? You can have a gnome short bow specialist if you want. You can have we have a lot of dwarf crossbow specialists in our game. We have a lot of fighters who want to be melee weapon, because we allow 3 specialization slots. So say they're double specialized in longsword, but they want to be a backup range, so they take short bow or long bow, but that's not their main fighting style. So backup weaponry. There's a lot of that going on.
You'll let them use only 1 slot to specialize with a bow?
Yeah, 1.
Because you don't do the double damage. That's why.
That's right. But see, look, within our 1E realms, we have 2 different ways of doing things.
Now, I will say I was running my kids' game. My daughter was playing a halfling commando named Meanie Styles. And she was specialized with short bow with high dexterity.
Yeah.
And so when you're first level, you're just mopping up the floor. Anything comes around the corner, you're like, doo, doo, doo.
So here's what he's talking about. Halflings automatically get +3 to hit with short bow or sling right off the bat. 18
Plus
dex.
3.
18 Dex gives another +3. That's +6. Specialized gives another +1. That's +7 at first level.
+2 at point blank.
Yeah, +2 at point blank. Yeah. Oh my God, it's
+8.
It's +8 to hit.
So +7 or 8, and then when you do damage, you double the pluses as well. So it's 2d6 +4.
Well, I don't do that.
So his first level.
Yeah, I do 1d6 +2. That's it. So you see the differences there. Captain Tape tosses her shield. See, well, that's cool. You can do that. I know. No, there's all different here. So third edition is great because it spreads out the variety massively beyond the kits, even in 2e. We all agree that, right? Pathfinder had so many, and third edition had so many different great things.
Yeah, I forgot how complicated first edition was. I'm so glad that things have been streamlined.
But it's not complicated, Anna, because it
all
was
the tables and stuff you showed me. It was kind of it's.
And then I have my rules, and my ways are the highway in 1E because I'm the only one. Tim and I are the only two to do it, so that's a great thing. No one has to worry about it.
What I mean is that there are a lot of complicated.
There are.
In order to
There are, Anna.
Later edition simplified it and still kept variety. So I kind of see that as an involvement. And I loved first edition when we played it, but then I liked the other ones afterwards better. Third edition kind of screwed it up because they kind
too
of
much
inflated.
crunch.
Well, they inflated things up the wazoo over time, so to speak.
Yeah, I was just typing that in. I was just typing that into Dale. Too, but inflated. So
exactly. So third edition and PF1 had the problem that everything scaled up by level, and that's something they reined in both in PF2 and in 5e. So but in 5e they have the interest that ranged weapons have two ranges. They have normal range and long and maximum range, so to speak. And normal range, you shoot and roll normally like you would attack, melee attack, so to speak. And if you go beyond normal range but up to maximum range, you have disadvantage, meaning you roll 2 dice and the lowest. And that's kind of a significant handicap. So how long the normal range is a very critical feature of the weapon you're using.
So let's just put this out there. My way is no better than your way. I'm talking about in general.
But it's
than
different
Dale,
play styles.
Then
It's
5th edition, and Castles and Crusades. Everyone's got so this. I'm trying to come at this on the mentality of how we got where we are today. And I want to note some things here. You see these? You see this? You see this? Right here? You see this? Gone. All right. I have one
in Jay's world.
I have one class that gets 3 arrows at 7th level, and that's Lens Archer. None of the other ones get multiple arrows beyond 2 in my game.
But I will argue.
You can argue all you want.
That I was gonna put forth the reasoning that I don't.
Right. Yes, exactly, Jay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So for mostly the archers use longbows. The actual draw on a longbow is actually properly most bow arrows draw to the cheek. The actual longbow will draw past the ear because historically they refer to firing from within the bow. So their draw length is much further. However, if you've seen the guys with war bows draw, there's no firing 3 times in one round unless they're short stringing it to fire fast. Mm-hmm. So that would be my argument. People shooting shorter, smaller bows are going to be able to fire more times faster.
Yep.
Scottish Jeff, no, because I'm going to tell you this. You've seen my streams. We don't want to get into the weeds. I don't want combat to go taking hours per round. I just don't want that to happen. So I don't go into that depth. I want to keep it.
Yeah.
So
it would be better to say, hey, there's a storm. It's a -2 for missile.
Yeah, and that can happen sometimes, or it's pitch black out,
Yeah, but I like that question because I had a couple of interesting rules. So at least one that I think it was about the trajectory. Meaning, if you have like indoors and you have a long corridor that is 100 feet long, but it's only 5 or like 7, 8, less than 10 feet, or you can just walk in it, so to speak. If you have a crossbow, you can shoot your range and still hit the target. If you have a bow, no, because you need to lobby it in if it's beyond the short range, so to speak.
I only know of one game that takes that into account, the Arch of the Fire. Yeah. Jay, you know what it is?
Well, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. About Arch of the Fire. No, the Arch of the Fire. I didn't hear that.
Where if you're in a 10-foot tall passage and the enemy's 80 feet away, the arc required is actually going to impact across the ceiling, hit the
Thank you,
ceiling
Wiley.
Yeah.
Right.
for certain shots.
Mhm.
And
So-
I said,
bows,
I only know of one game that builds that, takes that into consideration for the rule in the rules. It was a trivia question for you.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which
But,
game?
but
Aftermath.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I
But
forgot
the-
about bows and crossbows in that game.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But there are two typical
crazy.
instances that are very common in D&D games when that will happen. One is in dungeons, like corridors and rooms in dungeons that don't have a high ceiling. The other one are forests. That will be the same thing. If you see someone in the forest and you have to shoot to lobby an arrow and hit someone 300 feet away, it's not that difficult out in the field, but in a forest with a bow, it's damn near impossible, so to speak. So
There better
that
not
is
be any underbrush.
exactly. You can see someone perfectly through a hole like that, but hitting something with the bow is not like hitting with a rifle. A crossbow is not like a rifle, but at least it's much more like a rifle than
Right.
that a bow is.
Firing prone.
Mhm. Exactly.
You can
same
fire
thing.
prone with a crossbow.
Yeah, you
which
can,
will
not a
give you-
bow. Yeah, I agree on that 100%.
Mhm.
So
You
At
could
least
fire
you need
prone. You could fire in a supine position with a bow.
Yeah, I would go a little bit more kind of fantastic with it. I would say that if you take feats, you are a bow master or like super master with bow and take extra skills and feats and stuff with it, then you can do stunts like shooting from a prone position and weird things like that.
But
you
yeah,
can't
well,
do with bow.
I would say supine just means on your back. So you
Stella!
Yeah, exactly. Or sitting at least, or something like that. So
Stella
you effectively you
Luna!
can shoot, but not for an ordinary person who just
Great
uses
to
a
see
bow
you,
and
Stella.
a basic training in it. So
it's awkward.
Yep. And
Great.
and I have to state that my experience with bows and crossbows are limited, so to speak. But my general experience hitting things with weapons are fairly extensive. So I have some idea of what it is. I've gone
Thank you,
through
Stella.
sniper training and I know how to hit
Thank
things
you so
with
very
assault
much.
rifles, pistols and revolvers and God knows what. So I have some idea of the difficulty involved in it.
Hey,
And I've tested and used modern crossbows with that. So I have kind of
Tim, yeah.
at least a couple of hundred arrows with modern crossbows and probably 50 or so
So
shots
for-
with the bow.
So for those of you that came in with Stella's raid, yes, those are all real weapons on Tim's wall.
Yep.
Yeah, yes, he knows how to use them all. He's
Yep.
an armor certified grandmaster. And what is it? You in sword and shield, spear and shield? I forget which one, Tim. You're an armor grandmaster,
A senior free scholar in longsword.
senior free
There you
scholar in longsword
There you
combat.
go. Yep.
Yes.
But
Yes,
but I think some of
Pretty
these
cool.
things should be taken into account because that makes it more interesting when you choose. You can have advantages and disadvantages
missile combat,
with
everyone.
bows and crossbows. And I think it's kind of cool that if you can have it. And look at third edition and Pathfinder 1, crossbows were simple weapons, meaning even wizards can use them. And then you had the bows were
Stump.
martial weapons, meaning you needed warrior training one way or the other, whether you were ranger, paladin, fighter, or something else that were warrior trained, so to speak.
and
And
this.
I think that's kind of a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, but once again, it'll depend on the system you're using and how
Mhm.
deep you want to
Yep.
go into
Right.
feats and abilities, and if there's
Well, yeah, some
slots.
systems have them and some systems
Yeah.
don't have them. So yeah.
I've decided that instead of making a whole bunch of math and missile and this, that, and the other, that for the advantages of certain types of armor,
Giveaways too.
I'm incorporating that into reducing the levels of crits. So if
Okay,
you're in full
okay.
plate,
Okay.
if you're in full plate, you're going to have an automatic deduction of the level of the crit you're taking. And the same thing for the type of helmet.
Mhm.
Consequently, you're going to maybe lose dexterity and other things, but so you may get hit, but your chance of getting a catastrophic is greatly reduced because that's what
But
it does.
that's cool because you use these kind of critical hit tables. You can do cool tweaks like that.
So Scott just asked a question I want to jump right into. Bolts or arrows with rope tied to them? That's kind of not realistic,
I
is it?
don't think it will
Yeah.
work at all.
Yeah.
No, it will be
Bolts
it-
maybe at best, but nothing.
Yeah, no, it will.
Yeah.
At
look at
modern
Harp-
day with like a fishing reel, you can, but not for real.
Not
you
50
know.
feet of
Yeah.
rope. That type
Meaning
of rope.
it works for really heavy powered things
Yeah,
like
good
missiles
question, though.
and stuff, that meaning a lot of anti-tank missiles and stuff, but they are powered
Try a
things that you
harpoon.
should. Exactly. Harpoons underwater are difficult enough and only works for 10, 15 feet, maybe 20 feet if you're really lucky, so to speak. And they are clunky and difficult to use and very so I could see some weapon like that, but I will limit the range to maybe 20 feet or something like that. Really short range, so to speak.
Bill is a bow guy
you,
too. Yeah, Bill's a bow guy too. He says building extra craft a rope will cause too much drag.
And what will guide how long you shoot is the weight of the projectile versus the weight of the rope or something, and take an arrow and rope and realize that the string that you attach need to be much lighter than the projectile. As soon as that they started equal in weight, then you lose all the whatever accuracy.
I'm going to caveat this. There's no reason you can't create a magic item that does that for rope climbing. You shoot a shot arrow that has it, especially that appears afterwards. That kind of stuff. It's magic, but not doing it on your own. Right.
Yep. Right. That makes perfect sense. Magic can overcome anything you want it to overcome in your game system or your campaign.
Clever. What's up?
Yeah.
That's cool. Maybe historical weak capacity of hemp rope. Do it. Yeah, exactly. That's not from D&D background, but a historical siege. Yeah, exactly. Bones.
If you had elven hair rope,
exactly. Yeah, but you can have it. Meaning, it was only if you take heavier weapons like anti-tank weapons. It was only modern fiber optics and these that made that really feasible today, because you had the heavy projectile and the wire tended to be so thin and strong that you can actually and then you need to be able to deliver the wire or string out as fast as the projectile is flying, which is not an easy feat. So it needs to be you need to lay it out, coil it out in front of you, then shoot the projectile. If you have the string in the backpack, it will not work, so to speak. So there's a lot of practicalities, but you could probably build something or use something that has a limited range and add magic to it, then you can extend the range and make it more kind of useful.
So another note is the level of detail that we're going into here. Just note, use it as much as you want or don't.
Exactly.
You know?
Cherry pick.
Exactly, Anna. Whatever works for your group. I'm going to describe what works for mine. Anna's going to do with hers, and Tim. And like I said, Tim and ours are very different when it comes to missile, and we're both playing 1E, which is interesting. All right.
Although we both think missiles are
awesome. Yes.
Oh yeah, they are a cool addition, and I think you should think a little bit what your role of missile should be, both in individual combat by the party against individual enemies and vice versa, but also from a more generic, meaning if you want to have big battles, should the enemy, what happens when they firing hundreds or thousands of arrows in one go, so to speak? How do you want that at all, or how do you want to use it?
One that shoots the mostest with the mostest firstest.
The mostest down.
Yeah, that's a good rule.
So here's an anomaly that happened to us during this Unearthed Arcana era I want to share, and that's under the Cavalier. Chivalrous Cavalier, which is a great class. And somehow they crapped it up in Unearthed Arcana, in my opinion. Tim likes it better than Tim likes the Unearthed Arcana one better. I like this one better, and this is the one we use in my game. Right, Tim? Right. Okay.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden, number one, elves have class level limits, but they don't for Cavaliers. All right, and then that's it. I was like, the floodgates are open. You did it one class, the floodgates are open. We're done with class level limits. Why do the Cavaliers not have class level limits when fighters and mages and all the other crap does? It made no sense. So that was it on that.
Well, maybe they only want the elvish nobles to not have class limits.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Normal.
Oh my gosh.
Get up there.
It drove me crazy. So they got some great stuff on here on mounts and horsemanship and everything too, along with the class. But here's the anomaly. Cavalier Archer Crossbowman Specialist level table. Right in the middle of the Now, who thinks a Cavalier is going to be a bow specialist? Well, according to this article, yes.
I do, because most nobles, like especially if you look at feudal Japan, the primary weapon of the samurai was the bow.
This is European medieval that is out of their
heads,
I know,
too.
But it's fancy, I got it. But
if you were from the Polish steppes or Hungarian, you are also going to have a bow.
I agree 100%. But you know that it makes no sense in here the way they wanted it to go. It was one of those.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. It makes none.
Well,
For art elvens,
about stereotyping.
yes,
to
it was back
more or
then.
less degree, so to speak, in order to simplify things.
But look at this. Look at this table. It's 6 level, 3 rates of arrows per round. And so we started getting these Cavaliers, particularly, I'm sorry if you're one, Walt. These Cavaliers, Britomart was fine 4 or 5 hours, and then Hastings 8 hours a round. Okay,
She was a killer.
a killer. She won the
They can
archery
wear
contest. She beat every
full
archer
plate
in
and
the
everything.
She beat every archer in the first archery contest we had. I said enough
I would
of this
say
shit.
though, Jay, she was an archer.
Yeah, but no,
She
but
would
she-
afford the
it
finest
was
training.
nuts. You know, so I said, you see, in my book here, there's a big X through that table. Gone. They're Cavaliers. No. I will allow if you want a crossbow on horseback, because these are mounted horseback characters. You know, I don't care. But the bow was crazy. So just note, I prefer no missile specialization for Cavaliers. But that doesn't count the other Cavalier I'm about to show, right, Tim? Which is I love it even
Yes.
better. So as you can see, this Cavalier was great. We use it to this day. It's a separate class from fighter. Paladins can be fighter subclass in my game or Cavalier subclass. There are many more fighter subclass Paladins now, but in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, they were all the Paladins were Cavaliers. Just that's the way it went, and it kind of swung back. So that's why I have monks. Exactly, Moose. The monk is the antithesis to the archer. That's a good point. Absolutely. All right, let me go up here, and I think it's 106.
Yeah.
Dragon
They said the
106.
monk's so weak that when it gets close to the archer will beat him up.
Yeah, but that is one of the interesting things. Would you let a monk simply deflect as many arrows that comes at him?
Yes, by rule they're allowed to, but they have to make a petrification save in old school 1E2E.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
have to make it-
I would
Hey,
only
Patrick!
let them deflect one arrow per attack. So to
No,
speak.
they're actually-
and they have to be able to see the person and be aware of the shot being fired at them.
I always see them as also dodging the
114.
aim of the archer.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
That's part of it, so to speak. But they have to be aware, and they can only dodge one per. Meaning, if there's a 10 attackers shooting at him, he can deflect one arrow, but he can't deflect.
Hey, Rob. Good to see
They're
you.
using the force.
Here's another thing though. Dewey Cawthorn brings up, well, there's protection spells. Stone Skin's only one set of attacks. That's one round. Protection from normal missiles or protection from arrows, depending on your edition, does nothing against magical arrows. And every archer's carrying magical arrows around, so that does nothing.
Meaning these are kind of arbitrary simplifications to some degree. That I
Absolutely.
think it's kind of
All right, let me.
I'm also going to introduce a spell
this up.
in that order.
Oh, no.
Once we have that another discussion.
He's pulling up. Yes, Tim is coming up with some great ideas that we're going to be adding to my game. Here it is, the Elven Cavalier. Now I know a lot of you. I talked about this, and this is a regular class of mine. This is separate from the Cavalier class, and this is a great. I think it's one of my favorite. And we'll talk about one other one after this too.
That also has the witch in it too, right?
Yes, this is one of your favorite dragons. So Chris Booth, who did a lot of articles for Dragon Magazine. We'll go to page 26. There's the witch.
The witch.
Yeah, I know. We've talked about the witch. I don't know.
Don't be
6 months
afraid.
ago. Don't be. Yeah, be very, very
Be
afraid.
very afraid.
Especially in Tim's hands. I'll never forget that night, Tim. As you say, you scarred me for life that night with 12 different bodies. Yeah, you scarred me for life that night. Kazumba is scarred for life from that thing. So, all right. So here is the Elven version of that Cavalier, and Chris Booth solves some of these problems with missile fire. First off, he goes, "We got to tone this down. It's too much. Why Cavaliers need an Elven Cavalier is as Tim said at the very beginning of this discussion, is smart. They want to kill things at range. So, what is their main weapon, Tim?
The bow.
Short bow. It's a short bow because they also can use that mounted technically as well. So they use short bow. They don't use long bow.
Yeah.
So the ranges
short
are
composite
short.
would be the best.
Right. So they have short bow, and then they have this table here. Now this table I've changed slightly because I made a few adjustments to it. But is that a short bow?
Short composite bow.
Short composite bow right there. So
modeled after a Hungarian horse archer's traditional. It's of course modern.
Thanks,
made, but it's
Patrick.
made to look like it is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
It's
for doing
wood
that,
and
Patrick.
fiberglass.
So this only shows that the hits down here. It's hidden is the damage. So it's here. They get +1 damage for with their main weapon, which is longsword, and +2 damage with longsword, short bow, and then +3 damage at 10th. So it scrolls a little slowly, but they have pluses to hit in their secondary hands as well. This class here solved the problem for the Cavaliers, especially the elf version. So this is what we use. The Elven Cavalier is a nice class. It's a nice player character class. Anna has one she used during the Falcon, I think. I forget her name, but you have an Elven Cavalier, Anna, if you remember.
I haven't played her often, but yeah.
So no, it's not an Elven Ranger with attitude. They can't track. It's not a Ranger. It's a high classed elf, and they fit perfectly in my campaign.
Right, because why would landed gentry elves who live 1,000 years want to do decisive shock battle with plate mail on a horse in the woods?
Exactly. It's kind of
when elves look at orcs as a trouble to be solved with patience and a few well-aimed bow shots, why would they even try to get close?
Yeah.
So sure, there are some Cavaliers that are elves in my game, particularly Sir Florum from High Folk. They are jousting elves. They're the ones that want to show up the humans in jousting competitions, right? And so that Cavalier, being elf, half elf, this Cavalier is a little different. This Cavalier is almost like a hit and run kind, it's just forest type, and that fits well into our campaign. So it's a playable player character race. So this gives you another missile fire option, all right, along with archers. Rangers, which you can get specialization, which you get the +to hit and damage. Fighters, okay, which get the +to hit and damage. Cavaliers, which I got rid of. Elven Cavaliers. Well, jousting is a specialized skill, Patrick, in that you need to take it as a proficiency and a specialization for those Cavaliers and those fighters. And then lastly, one more. Which you saw last night, if you watched last night's game, and I think it's Dragon 65. See, I'm bouncing around a little too much here. My apology. Give me 1 second here. It is. I should know that by heart. 63. Bones, are you on? Because Devin is this one. So let me go to Dragon 63 and bring that up real quick.
Well, you're saying when we talked before about harpoons and attaching strings, one example where it works is these kind of big siege weapons that use these anchors with chains that you flung up on walls to be able to. That's where it works, because there you have the projectile weighing hundreds of pounds, and then you can attach ropes or even chain to it, because then you have a really heavy projectile, but it's relatively to the projectile size and weight only a short range. So it would be equivalent of having a tiny fishing line at an arrow and shooting 20 feet. So
Chagma was in this one too.
So you're talking about the Bandit, right, Jay?
Yeah, yes, I am. I just forget what page it's on.
Right, because actually that's what Patrick's character is in the Underdogs.
Oh, is he?
Specialized with bow.
Yes. So look at this. Events in the Eastern Southern Flanders. Robert Kuntz with Ari Gygax.
Yeah, when you only have 6 arrows, that's important.
Make charisma count for more. Leonard Lakofka. Look at this. Look at all this. Oh, here we go.
These cool articles they had. Every dragon was a little update on the happenings in Greyhawk. They were kind of cool.
Right.
And then Joe Block did follow-ups, modern ones, when he made look exactly like the original ones in Dragon magazine, where he had stuff. They're really cool. Yeah.
So this class is one I think gets overlooked because it's by Tom Armstrong and Roger Moore. And it's a very short article, and it's the Bandit. So it's not a fighter thief. They can't pick pockets. It's not a ranger. They can track, but they have some other abilities. This is a fighter subclass. This is not a thief subclass. The Bandit.
It's a great class.
It's a great class. Here's the problem with this article. There's no mention of weapon specialization in here. Okay, and if we look at the date on this, when is this? July of '82. This is pre-Unearthed Arcana. Okay. So what I did was I added two specialization slots, one for melee, no multiple attacks, but just the +1 hit, +2 damage. So Bones' character Devin has that. One missile, where you get the range enhancement and the +to hit and damage, and that makes this class really cool. So 2 slots. No double, no model, no double specialization, no other multiple attacks, and then you have a really neat
Right.
class here.
And I run it like it's
Hey,
a
Rich.
fighter subclass with 4 normal proficiency slots that you can trade in for specialization.
Right. So, and as you can see, Bones loves her character Devin. There's a lot of other cool bandits in the game. The bandit can cover tracks. The bandit can set snares and pits. The bandit can pass without, can move silently, hide in shadow, outdoor. It is a poor man's ranger in a way, but it's not a ranger. So if you don't want to fill your whole thing with rangers, here's your option: is this class here, and they're good with missile weapons. So
it's a great class, especially if you run in the game legit. Like you have to have the stats to be the character you want, and you don't have the stats to be a ranger. But you could be a bandit. You might fit into that.
Yeah, they do not backstab or knock out Scottish Jeff, so they are not bounty hunters or assassin types. They don't have their thieving abilities are limited to move silently, hide in shadows, and setting outdoor pits and snares and stuff. They don't have open locks. They don't have any of that. They don't have pickpockets. They don't have read languages. None of that stuff. They have this cover tracks ability, so they can hide their retreat, and they have a couple other abilities here. And they have a hybrid dice, die 8+1. So they're in between a ranger, where a ranger has 2 dice. They're lower than a fighter, but their average is right there. So,
but their average is the same, though, right?
Yeah, the average is still the same. So, and they get con bonuses. So if you have 18 con, they get +4 hit points. Just another option for a missile firing character. And does bandits have any race restrictions? Here's the thing. My campaign, I expanded it. Humans, elves, half orcs, dwarves. Because I have those dwarf bandits of the Prince of Ulick running around causing trouble all the time for that jerk prince in my game. The prince's highwaymen are all, they use crossbows, and those kind of weapons. They can't use pole arms. They can't use large, super large weapons, 2-handed swords.
They want to be mobile.
They want to be mobile. So, and they're limited in armor too. I think they're limited to chain max. It's got to be non-bulky armor. So I think the best they can do is chainmail.
Yeah, the light, medium, heavy armor concept came in 3rd edition. It was not there in 1st, was it?
Yeah.
Well, it's called
second
bulky, non, or fairly back then. A lot of people,
okay.
yeah,
because then in 3rd edition, then later you have these
a wizard can
3
be a bandit.
types of classes of armor: light, medium,
Basically,
and
the
heavy.
movement rate has to be 9 inches. I think is what it is.
Yeah,
so
minimum of 9, but they can't wear bandit. I don't think either. I think chain's the best. I think it's chain, studded leather, or elven chain. Or bracers. That's limited.
Right, because scale is too heavy, right? Scale is 6 inch, so that's too heavy.
Kind of. The only missile weapon I know a cleric can use is staff sling. Correct. We're not talking specialty priests. If it's a specialty priest and it's an archery specialty priest, they use bows. But if it's a cleric, I think it's just staff sling. That's it. So okay.
Hammer.
Yeah, you can throw a hammer. Yeah, true. Yeah. Yep. So that is the other class, and that puts us to where we would be in our discussion here, going back to the archer, right?
Well,
hammer, club. You can throw a club. That's right, Bill. That's absolutely right. You can throw a club.
You can throw most things, but some are
yes, you can.
to actually hurting someone when they hit than other things. The knives are notoriously difficult to throw.
Exactly.
They're not really made to be. And it's kind of interesting because those ninja stars are easy to throw, but damn difficult to store up until you throw them, because they have a tendency of injuring you everywhere, so to speak. And knives are easy to store, but damn difficult to throw. So same thing with axes, are also notoriously difficult to throw and actually do some sort of damage. It's kind of funny. At work, we had a ban. People were not allowed to go to pubs and stuff, or places where they actually used axe throwing as a kind of thing, because people got so damn injured doing it.
So I'm texting Chuck to see if he's going to come on, because if he can't, then I will. Harpy, yes, Harpy's
what
awesome.
Are you going to talk about some of the other classes, Jay?
How about you? You could do that.
No, what about the classes that you guys made?
Give me an example.
Isn't there the Harrier?
Oh yes, Bill's Harrier Archer, which is still in test. Yes. Okay. All right, let's talk about
10
that.
10 years or something?
Yes. Well, about that. So we have 2 in the game, And so let me show you the concept idea. I'm seeing if Chuck. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked there. I'm holding off doing the Castles and Crusades part until let's see if Chuck is going to hop on. And if he's not, then I'll do it. But if not, so we're going to go to this. Bill is always good on creating. Oh man, Bill, where is it under the? Oh shit.
Sorry. I thought you're gonna talk about it.
I was, but is this the kind of
It
Harrier
was
Archer?
hidden away. Yep.
Harrier Archer 3. Hopefully it's the right one. Okay. I got it.
Harrier Archer.
All right. So this Harrier Archer is a little different than the standard Archer. Bill has created it, and he goes into a little bit more abilities than the regular Archer, and it's still in test. It does go with some things that we're not used to in our game.
Yeah, I was just going to see. It seems to tie into this topic of sniping, meaning do aiming really carefully with a ranged weapon and then do massive pointer damage. That is something that is kind of alien to the D&D basic of D&D combat system, meaning to have enormous amount of hit points and stuff like that. It's something that the game is designed so you should not be able to do that kind of thing, and it's something that if you want some realism, that's what you should be able to do. If a target kind of shows the opportunity and you can really aim carefully and so on, you should be able to kill with one shot. And
the Harrier is kind of like a skirmisher.
Yeah.
Yes. So
lay in wait and.
Yeah, and Asher has a good point. Meaning, in third edition, when you had sneak attacks with ranged weapons, that was a way of trying to introduce that in again. But then you get the problem is that NPC monsters and enemies have a tendency of doing it on player characters, and that kind of takes the fun out of the game to some degree if you can kind of die instantly. But there's especially in first edition, there's a lot of save or die spells, and that is kind of a bit of the same mechanics, meaning you can one failure and you're dead, so to speak. So in that way, why don't have it with? But then you should be able to have it with, like, well, you have warple weapons and stuff. So there are some precedents in
absolutely.
The game, but the design of the combat system is that you should not be able to. It's the exception, so to speak.
Well,
and like
there is, but then they accepted themselves with swords of wounding.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of first made it impossible, and then they introduced a sneaky back ways to actually do it, so to speak. Yeah,
but then they did ways of undoing it too. They had periaptive wound closure.
It's been a constant struggle through D&D history. How much decapitations, snipe to kill, and effects like that should be allowed within the game system. And that's something that I think each DM and game group, you have to start thinking: how much of that do you want? Warple weapons, various effects that insta kill, so to speak. That's.
So here's some of the abilities. They can move silently, hide in shadows outside. Okay, it's kind of like a bandit. So they have a bandit ability. Archers, regular archers, don't have this. Len the Kafka Archer. Yeah. The magic of their bows passed onto the arrow for shooting purposes of hitting creatures only by magic weapons. So it doesn't get the plus to hit, but then they can hit like a golem or an elemental, which you need +2 weapons. If they have a +1 bow and +1 arrow, it's combined. I'm fine with that. Specialty keen shots. All right, so this is. Are keen for 1 round for every 2 levels starting at 3rd. Okay, so then they can get a keen. They can declare a keen shot.
You use the effect of keen, meaning that you, like in 3rd edition or PF1, that if you had a keen weapon, you had an increased chance of doing crits.
Yeah, 19 or 20, okay. Absolutely. We use keen weapons all the time. In fact, last night Devin has a keen scimitar, and Zarathon Josh's spear was keen. So we use keen weapons all along.
And that was some in 3.5 and PF1. Then crossbows were keen. Bows did more damage when they crit instead, so that was a difference too.
Yeah, and I love the critical hit. You know, I'm not using Tim's tables, but I'm using the Roger Moore Allen edited tables. Tim's tables are so
use nasty ones.
Because how many characters has Blue Box killed because of those? 5.
Well, I'm going to say they have contributed to their own demise numerous times.
Well, you kind of always do because you were there.
That's funny, Tim. Tim just blames other people.
Hey, how many of them carry missile weapons? 1 out of 5, 6. and they wonder why they keep running into people and fighting in toe to toe, and they get hacked to pieces.
Carl Zarathon has a keen axe used in his own forest, Troy. That's good, he says with a wide grin. We like to, I mean, so we joke around a lot here, you know. So crit charts and Call of Cthulhu, yeah. So I love the critical hit, but to an extent. So we have they have specialty keen shots at third and a disabling shot, which the disabling shot's going after vital muscle areas. You get a save versus death magic. Okay, that's usually the easiest of all saves in old school. Or your strength is -2 and your dex is -2 for 1 turn. So basically, you're putting an arrow right in a bad spot on someone. Cool idea. We're still working through this playtest, considering we have 1 player character and 1 NPC only. Right with this class, they can craft arrows, no problem. They can set signal traps outdoors to warn of incoming enemies as thief, no problem. Craft masterwork hours, raise 6 per day. No problem. I have no problem with that. 3 hours per round at 7th. No problem. 2 disabling shots. I'm okay with that. Yeah, because it's an archer. Here's another thing. Their table on the hits and damage is 1 lower worse than the Len-Lakofka Archer. So they're always going to be behind them as far as good. So that's a big difference. You'd think that's not a lot. Well, try it at 10th and 11th level when you need 400,000 experience points to go up, right? It's a huge difference. Well,
it's because they're spreading their time out between just shooting only and shooting and these other wood skills and fieldcraft. So that makes sense.
True. Yeah, exactly, Dale. Use it against them; they'll know when it's up. Exactly. And then deadly shot single arrow does maximum damage. Well, maximum damage can be 15 points on 1 arrow. That's not a big deal. And gains extra +2 to hit. And then here they get 3v2 attack rate for melee, just like a regular archer. All range modifiers are lowered by 1. By not. So this one we're sold. Is that 1 to hit, or is that 1 level where long is short and long is medium? And I'm not sure
Maybe
about that.
Maybe it just meant like -4 at long and -2 at medium instead. I mean -1 at medium instead of -2 and -5.
Right, which I'm okay with that. Instead of -5, it's -4. I'm okay with that, but I don't think that long should be medium for this. For that, no, yeah. And disabling shot 3 times per day. So there you go. I don't think it's in 1 to hit. There you go, Bill. Then it's good. So I have no problem with this class. This meets our play balance. Not a problem at all. I think it's nicely done. If anyone asks and Bill says it's okay, I'll share it with you. All right.
It's kind of like it's the more archery specific version, and it's a nice little blend of.
It's cool.
Skills. Yeah,
it's something cool that once again another one of my players made up, and we always love to incorporate that. All right, let's talk about the Archer from Castles and Crusades. All right, Adventures Backpack. Right now, we are giving out 2 of these tonight, along with the option of those books. So 3 drawings still. It is a sniper class, gosh, Jeff. You're absolutely correct. That's what it is. That's what it's made to be, a hit and run sniper. So, which is cool. I think it's early on here.
The best arrow is the one that you feel before you see. I'm in an arrow fight.
The Archer. All right. So we come down here to.
As we're talking about this, I want to say I'm going to recommend. Hey, look up on YouTube Todd's Workshop. It's a guy who makes historical weapons. He's done a lot of videos experimenting with longbows, and the effects of traditionally made arrows on plate and on all sorts of different weapons. He's really interesting. Anyway.
What's up, Gallagher? Good to see you too. All right.
And so he's fired a 1,250-pound pull crossbow. So you can see what it looks like.
So thank you, Mike, for telling me that. Now I'm gonna tell you something that Chuck said it's okay for me to say. He says that there's something about this class he doesn't like because it screws his game up, and we're going to talk about that. But he says, other than that, he says he's trying to figure out a workaround for it. Maybe, Mike, you figured one out since you're using this. So it's an archer, just like this has actually got a little bit of a basis from Len Lakofka's Archer. This is what Chuck told me that Steven was thinking about this class. So here are their abilities. They have the Warrior Fletcher ability. They have mounted, which I know, Tim, you have problems with. Firing from a horse unimpeded.
No.
Longbow. No?
Oh, with a longbow?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can't draw it a full length.
Right. But it doesn't. So if they succeed, so it doesn't say anything about the archer cannot fire curved shots nor perform the archery skill while mounted in motion. So they can utilize dual shots. So weapon training, they're only +1 hit and +1 damage here. Here's the dual shot they get at 4th. So remember, this is Castles and Crusades rules, so they get 2 shots without penalty here. They have the incapacitate, kind of similar to what the disabling shot that Bill made up was. They can sense an arrow coming at them. That's interesting. That's an interesting one. And they have this curved shot. The archer has mastered the bow, such as they're able to twist the string in such a way that the arrow could shoot around an obstacle. I don't know about that. What do you think, Tim?
I've seen trick shooters shoot using the archer's paradox and the flex of the bow and how it can curve in its flight.
Okay.
And them using that to shoot around something.
That way you can use trajectory that way.
Okay. Well, then
they'll shoot at a close obstacle. They can get an arrow around it using the archer's paradox, because the arrow flexes one way, and then as it straightens out, it changes its trajectory. I don't see it useful in combat, really. I think that's impossible.
Yeah.
So here's the one he doesn't like, is this one, improved initiative. That's because it messes up his game all the time, because if he uses group initiative like I do, it's a problem. At 2nd level, the archer has a bow or crossbow in hand and an arrow and bolt knocked. This is the knocked arrow rule from Len that we kind of just eliminated because it just didn't work in our game. An archer gains +4 to their initiative die roll.
Well, with the as written specialization, if they have a knocked arrow, it goes off first. It's an instant shot.
I know.
But that's something that 3rd edition and later games have gone sold by having that you can actually prepare.
Carlos ran that really well.
Yeah, you can prep in actions. You can say at any time that I'm preparing to fire and I will wait, and then when the conditions are right, I can release the arrow and jump in whenever I want in the future, so to speak. And
it's a snapshot really fast, and it's like, all right, this round's going to go off. Any specialized archers with an arrow knocked.
Right. Yeah. But Tim, you know what was happening. They were walking around like this the whole time in our game.
You can't walk around with
I understand that, but that's what was that's what the effect was.
You walk with a bow ready. Yeah. And then if something comes out, you get the fire.
But I think it's easily to solve. You just have the ready action, meaning if you want to, you ready an action. It can be a missile attack, it could be fire a spell off or something else. And then you simply say that, okay, if this happen, I will do that. And then you wait there prepped to do that. And then as long as you stand still and prep and do nothing else, you're ready to fire. And I think that's fair trade-off.
In that Cheetah fundraiser, Carlos ran it. I played the Ranger specialized with a bow. That's exactly how it was played.
Yeah.
Something comes up, boom, the arrow gets off, and then you roll for initiative.
Right.
Yep. And meaning you ready in action, and then you jump in. Yeah, whenever you want, so to speak. But then you sacrifice now to gain an advantage later, and I think that's a fair trade-off. And you can't.
You could get your 2 shots that round because you just did a snapshot first off the thing.
Oh, okay. Well, then you kind of pushing it a bit. But the ready action, I think it's a great general rule that applies both to missile shooters and wizards and
you
others.
Can fire if you have an arrow on the string, you can fire that thing fast.
I understand that. I understand that. But
I videotaped it like 0.2 seconds. You get an arrow off.
It leads down rabbit hole. Because then you got the bad guys doing it. You got bad guys prepping spells. You got the rest of it.
Spells.
But ready in action. I think I've used it for over 20 years, and I think it works really well. Yeah.
Yeah. I just noticed that we never have someone doing something before group initiative in my game just because it's a
when you have a ready an action, it's within initiative. Everything is within initiative, so you need to spend an action to ready something, or you can be ready like an ambush. You can be ready then
that's a different case, because we have a steady aim ability in our game where they have an arrow knocked and they're waiting for someone coming down a path. Exactly, that's a different story.
Okay.
That's completely, I agree that 100%. But we're talking about walking into a room, opening a door, and every time getting the arrow off
No,
it's
you
not-
can't.
yeah,
You can
it's
only
not
stand still and
happening.
do it. You can't do anything else
Yeah.
while you do it. So it's that
Yeah,
simple. If
it
you
would
start
be like if
walking,
I'm like 3 people back, I'm not going to get that arrow off.
yeah.
Right.
But if I am the first one in there,
And you get that arrow off,
if
and then
I'm
no one else can
moving-
get in the room.
Yeah. But
if
I
I'm
think,
moving, there's already an action, so you
Yeah.
don't get that option.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting there and if something presents itself, snap firing makes sense.
Yeah, Bill,
Yeah,
that's
but
never
I-
happening in longbow quickness. That's fantasy land, Bill.
but I think this is a good example of don't have too many complicated special rules for special things. Have more general rules that applies to everything roughly similar. That way you will have less problems with someone min-maxing around just to get some weird, funny
Yeah.
excuse of breaking the game.
All you
so
got to
to
do is limit the arrows.
Lightning
Well,
bolt.
yeah, but you have to treat it, meaning treat it as general
Yeah.
combat, more similar, so to speak. And I think 5e is doing a real good job of simplifying it and keep it within limits, so to speak. And that's something that later editions are getting good at, so to
Well,
speak. They have a few
it-
things that
For Jay, it's okay because he only makes he
Yeah.
only makes specializing with a bow take 1 slot.
yeah,
I have it take 2 slots. So if you're a fighter, you can only start out with a bow and 1 other weapon if you specialize with a bow. So that's a lot to give up.
yeah,
It is a lot
And,
to give up, and it's a lot, and hence why the archer class only starts with 2 slots to begin with, and it's way behind on fighter. So it
And
technically
if you're a ranger specialized with bow, you don't. That's all you have is a bow.
at first level.
yeah.
First level,
And
yeah.
it's
for you.
also, I guess, example of if you want intricate, rule crunchy combat, then you can consider a lot of cool rules like this. But if you want a more free flowing, easier to manage game, then don't create a lot of archaic, weird, super specializations. Simplify it. Yeah. But it's a trade-off one way or the other. You lose cool flavor if you simplify it and streamline it, but you gain speed
Slots.
and so on. So it's
Right.
it's a trade-off. Yep. One
Yep.
way or the other. Yep.
Yeah, I don't like 3 slots for the redone archer from Len. Len in 2016 or 15 redid the archer, gave it clerical spells and stuff, and redid it, and it went into Dragon's Foot, and then I think it's on Cannon Fire and Greyhawk Online as well. We gave it to him to place it, so it's something. Len did a lot of redos on the archer. I prefer, I just like keeping it the way it is at the present. We may see some changes with some other people playing it. So
I would like to say too that one of the things in the archer was they don't usually take blunt weapons. Historically, longbowmen actually usually did have blunt weapons. They usually carried mauls, large wooden sledgehammers and stuff, because they would actually have to put in the wooden stakes that they would sharpen as part of their defensive positions when they did that. So I would not count the no blunt.
it's a lot of there's a lot of what do you do, right? So we're giving you these options here of what we've done at lower editions, and then you can also.
Well, go ahead with this one, Jay. I'm sorry.
No, we're good on this. So that was
Yeah.
the thing that Chuck told me was a problem in his game he was playing, was this +4 initiative, which was screwing up. And I said to him, you got to limit it. You got to limit it in a situation. First off, if you're not playing a miniature game and you don't have in your head, and the archer's not in the front, more than likely. The archer's in the 2nd or 3rd rank. It's not going to be able to shoot through your own players. So that solves the problem right there. As far as
We can try.
put him in the front row then, and then see how much he likes when he gets blasted all the time, right? So that solves the problem.
I'm very strict on where they put their bow. I know in D&D everyone's like to throw their bow, just throw it. Well, I'm like, no, you got a longbow you cannot put on your back. You got to drop it.
Hawk the Slayer had on his back all the time.
You can't wear it like that. I'll get you a bow. And we'll go ahead and spar. We'll see how it works with that big thing on your back. Plus, once I hit you, I cut the bowstring.
Yeah. Yeah. So, dude, Catherine, another thing is I rarely give out. I give out sharpness weapons, and I make them crit on 19 because they cut a limb up. I haven't given out a Vorpal weapon in 15 years. So. But what if you are Legolas? He could aim between friendlies. Well, if you're Legolas, then you're either in Mirkwood or you're running around in Jerusalem, defending from Saladin.
Remember, Legolas was he's a high level guy with a Lothlorien bow. Come on.
Yeah. I guess, but the him sliding down the steps on the shield was too much for even me, right? And that movie,
But that was a funny.
it was fun. It was cool.
Movie needs
Yes.
that occasionally. So yeah. So
What I always hate is when they have the arrow in their hand and they just stab somebody in there and it goes through them like it's
Surf
an
on
ice
a
pick.
shield.
oh yeah.
Yes, shield surfing. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yep.
Crow is exactly, Dorman. Crow would kick Legolas's ass because Crow shot 6 arrows in a round. Yes, and just obliterated him. I want to show you
I named
something.
my first Warhammer character after that.
Yeah. If you want to see, Len put in here at the very end of this article. Len gives you the stats for Robin Hood, right here. By the way, Earl Flynn's Robin Hood was an archer grandmaster, not a thief of any type. 14th level archer. Here's his stats. Yes, archer grandmaster, +2 leather, hit points 110, +2 longsword, +3 longbow. So there you go. If you want to play Robin Hood in your game, the Errol Flynn version, not the Kevin Costner version, or not the Men in Tights version, it's right here. Or not the what's the other one?
Time Bandits.
Not Robin Hood's in Time Bandit. Time Bandit.
Hello, I'm Hood.
Yeah,
Isn't
no, the one with what's his name? Where he really wasn't Robin Hood. He was Robin. He was Robin of Locksley. Just read the most recent one. Yeah,
I know what you mean.
yeah. Sean Connery. Yeah, Sean Connery was Robin Hood and Robin and Marion. Yeah, he was old though in that one. So there you go. But that's there. Just wanted to share that with everyone. So even Chuck has an issue with this, but you know the class works. I think Mike said it was the only one he used out of a lot of the classes out of here, which is cool. Russell Crowe, thank you, Scotch Jeff. That one, yes, he's really not a great archer in that one. So they're posting a new Hawk the Slayer comic. Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. I'd love to see a Hawk the Slayer TV. That'd be awesome. All right, questions at this point. We're 90 minutes in.
Well, I would like to interject,
please.
That, and this is an argument for the double damage. The bow and the arrows are so entirely dangerous and deadly that it drove armored technology. The only reason they added plates was because of arrows.
Yeah.
The only reason they added that was to stop the arrows from killing the people who were mattered, who could afford it. Mm-hmm. And that's why they added plates to their armor. And also the like a, brigandine armor, with the plated, the coat of plates and all that. I know Todd, that website I told you about, the YouTube channel, Todd's Workshop, he tested a brigandine and shot it with a bow, and it penetrates. It breaks the things apart and it goes in. But that full breastplate, real plate armor, properly made, it will defeat an arrow. So you got to go for the, it's got to get in the small areas around it. And
so, Patrick asked a question, Tim. I think the answer is the fletching, the shaft, and the arrowhead all determine how good the arrow is. Correct? It's all three: fletching, shaft, and arrowhead.
Right. It has to be within consistency matters, so that way when you aim, you know where the stuff's going. So, but having it done right is going to make a big difference. Yeah.
Cannibal Troy asked a really great question. Can underwater crossbows, Tim? Are we up your alley here?
It's basically
if it's magic.
He has it only affecting the range and effective range of the weapon.
No, if it's magic or if it shoots within like 10 feet, maybe. But I can't see something. The problem with the crossbow, because I studied, I still have plans to make a steel bow crossbow.
Okay.
So I was reading up on it. The problem you have is the weight of the string affects the speed, and the weight of the prods affects the speed. And now you're going against water as well. So, you have that stored energy, and once you release it, it's got a, you're going against resting inertia now, plus with the weight of all your stuff moving. I don't see how it can actually work unless you're using some sort of compressed air dart.
Well, were they blow darts and Thunderball? Because those things were awesome, man. That was the 60s. That movie was great. The underwater combat there.
The closest thing I've actually seen is a Hawaiian sling spearfishing, which is a loop of surgical tubing at the butt end of a harpoon, a little thin harpoon, a spear, and they put their hand through the elastic, and then they would slide the shaft of that down, and creating tension on the surgical tubing. And then they would get near a fish, they would just
but
open
that's
their
only
grip.
the length of the weapon, basically.
Yeah, and that's it. So you're looking at 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I've seen, and that seems reasonable to me to have some sort of. But I don't see anything from where it's usually fighting air, fighting water, unless it's magic.
It's got to do that. Yeah. So
sorry.
No, it's cool. No.
It takes enormous amount of power to push through water. So.
What I would say, Troy, is to do this, and that is the races create more spear guns or blow guns, right? What do you think? Underwater that are made. I mean, they have to.
You don't use distance weapons that much. You use close-up.
We're not
Tridents and other stuff that are close-up.
Right, but we're talking a fantasy setting here, and we're talking. We know mermen, Lakatha.
Or why not magic? Yeah.
Well, do all Lakatha have magic? That's the know.
Who says they have crossbows?
Because Troy obviously is trying to create an underwater setting, and I would say that they would have some kind of underwater weapon, whether it's a blowgun, a spear gun, or an underwater crossbow type. I would want to have that. Maybe the ranges are shorter, 50 feet.
I'd say make it like a thrown axe. 10, 20, 30.
But they are limited for all sides, so it's kind of evens out the odds.
A bullet hitting the water stops its energy in about 2 feet.
Oh, exactly. It's kind of Yeah.
I wouldn't go 90 feet. Troy, I go 60. I think 20, 40, 60 would be my limits. I think.
I would.
Not with some kind of propelled blowgun, spear gun underwater. I mean, I'm just looking for what I saw in that stupid James Bond movie. It wasn't stupid, by the way. I loved it, but they were shooting each other pretty far away. So
hell is the problem. If they had some sort of way of creating some sort of oil they rub on themselves that reduces resistance with water.
Yeah.
Some sort of special seaweed concoction.
Yeah, but it depends on how much reality. But if you want reality, some sort of basic realism, things that go through travel through water quickly needs a lot of energy, or like propulsion, so to speak. That is really, there is a reason that submarine warfare is basically down to torpedoes still after 100 years.
Gallagher just said he put a post on Cannon Fire regarding underwater archery as a recreational sport now. I did not know that. That's pretty cool, man.
You can do it. Yeah, you can do it.
That is really cool.
Short distances. Yeah.
Right, but what are they using?
It looks like recurve. What's the bow that goes sideways, flat? It looks like it's a recurve, isn't it?
A recurve just is the shape of the bow. The question is, if the string is real thin, right? Real teeny thin.
No, it doesn't look like it at all. It looks like a compound bow. It's a compound.
It's a compound bow.
There you go.
Right. Well, forget it. You've already taken. You're already left the.
You've already left the fantasy setting.
Yeah.
Well, there's no reason why Sahagwin with technology couldn't have a compound bow.
Compound bow, yeah.
Yeah. Cannibal Troy, I would go with your best judgment, and your judgment's best.
Meaning you're an expert.
Yeah.
Cannibal, you know everything there is to know about torpedoes and stuff. So we can't sit here and
I would use animated seaweed they use as range stuff, grabbing people. So then they can stick them with a trident.
Meaning they have some they know the element better than landlubbers do.
It's a great question. That I would say your best judgment. Mine would be 20, 40, 60 on stuff max.
Yeah.
But there could be magic items to extend it.
With how slow everyone is underwater, unless you're from the underwater.
Yeah. I would meaning if you can swim fast, that would win over using meaning a really fast fish would win over a harpoon quite often, so to speak.
Look at all those.
Because that's kind of
Yeah, as Patrick just linked a lot of underwater heads.
Cool. Yeah.
It would lose movement. It's a great question for this discussion, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
that is. Now I've got to look at more.
And Tim's got that sea mage, and he's working on a lot of sea stuff. So
Yeah.
We'll
I mean,
keep.
yeah, I see.
I
great
keep finding
potential.
more under aquatic monsters to add. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
But I see a
know.
lot of potential for underwater magic that way too. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, underwater magic has a lot of rules that don't make sense that need to be adjusted, right? And that's another whole discussion for. We could have an entire
Yeah.
show,
But
multiple
later
shows on
editions of the
underwater.
game had a lot of. They clarified a lot of stuff like
Okay.
that too. That was one thing they dug into. Yeah. There, especially third edition had a lot of both supplements and
Bone
various
crossbow
stuff. How
bolts.
it works.
Interesting. Yes. Troy, Tim, you and Tim are both crazy in the fact that you always are. I mean, and I'm always adding too, so I have no one to complain or comment because I always add all classes to this day. You're always adding, you're always finding something else, and that's adding is a good thing. So, getting back to the end on the bows and missile weapons, I wanted to make sure that the Lenlikov Archer was the king. I like it that there's classes that have you take that class because you want to be the best. The Archer in my game's the best. 3 arrows. I don't do double dice at all on anything. The pluses to hits are the best there. They're the one with a higher rate. Their melee combat's not that good, but that's the cream of the crop. Next tier, you have your Elven Cavaliers, your specialized Rangers, your specialized Fighters, your specialized Bandits. They're all in that next tier below. The Archer's the king, and everyone else is good. I mean, as you can see from Bandits and other classes. And then you have your normal missile troops, which may have a Masterwork Bow, +1 to hit. They have high dex, they get plus to hit, but they don't have any other abilities beyond that. Now, that doesn't. You may have your hand crossbow specialist. I'm sorry, your hand axe specialist, your hammer thrower, your dagger thrower. You can have those too.
Your darts.
Yeah, dart were nasty, especially in first
Yep.
edition.
Yep.
Damn, they were nasty.
One of the gentlemen in the Living Greyhawk group, his bard has a dart throw specialist, which is pretty nasty too. Javelin's another one. Javelin's range is double spear, so that's an advantage with a javelin.
Yeah.
Plus you
And
get
triple
javelins
if
of
you're
lightning.
using that ladle.
Yeah, addle. Yep.
You can kind of and bows are interesting that way when you scale them up. Giants using
Tomahawk's
bows that
cool.
are arrows
Yeah.
that are the size of javelins and do damage like javelins. They can be real nasty, so to speak.
In G1, the chief uses a crossbow that's basically a ballista.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's kind of interesting that way. You can scale up both bows and crossbows and get some really cool, interesting tactical options in combat. Yeah.
So that's a great
I
question, Pat. I got to answer it. Pat said, if someone has a necklace of water breathing and a ring of free action, would shooting a bow underwater without too much restriction be allowed? No, because you could shoot it twice around, but once that leaves, the arrow's still going through water. Now with the ring of
It would
free
definitely make it easier for you.
yeah. So,
But I would still trim that range down so low. Like once you stop 10 feet, the problem is you're fighting water and water currents and with a thing made for air. So it's going to start going off just like a bullet. When it hits the water, it goes all over the place and stops. So it's going to have to fight through water, which is way worse.
Yeah.
And then it's going to catch currents and things that it's not meant to. It does,
with a ring of free action, you get your normal melee attacks, and that damage is normal. But that missile is still, you can shoot it twice, but once it leaves,
you'd
it's
be
still
fast.
Yep.
But the arrow would be like, I'd say shoot him up close within 10 feet.
There's a big difference between in old school between the spell water breathing and airy water, which airy water is better because then you don't have to worry. You're not affected because there's air bubbles all throughout the water that you're breathing. It's kind of a neat effect there. So, yep.
I was going to say, Jay, I agree. The archer is the king, but I do the double damage because the specialized guys are more like one-trick ponies. They got their little specialty of maximum, up close because they're shooting up close. 30 feet is short. And then that's it. That's all they're really good for. And they're good at shooting fast because that's their thing. They can shoot. I let them shoot more than two around. And, but that archer is still going to dominate. When you look at the pluses they get in damage, they still beat the double damage plus,
60.
over time.
Yeah, I think bow fishermen are only going in a few feet. They're not shooting that thing down to 60 feet, right?
You're right. Yeah, they're shooting in shallow waters.
Yeah, it's only a few feet in.
Now I will say my dad
it starts above water going in. It's not underwater the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're using fishing line as on there too.
Yep. Good
In my
question, though.
city-state campaign, my dad has Hellborn, who's a ranger specialized with longbow. And so if he chooses, because like Jay, I have longbows do 1 to 8 damage instead of 1 to 6, because again, you're using heavier arrows and they're doing a fuller, longer draw. However, if he opts to shoot 3 times in a round, I'm only going to let him do 1 to 6 because he's not doing a full draw. He's going for fast shots instead of doing the full back behind his ear draw. That's how I do that.
Good point, Jakander, and I appreciate you sharing that. He says he's never heard of a bow fisherman hitting below 10 feet.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I really appreciate that insight. Thank you.
With the crossbow and the bow, in what determines again, this is just from trying to make a crossbow. The power stroke of the bow is what affects velocity. So the longer the stroke is, that how far the string is pulled back, the more velocity the projectile can have. Which is why on modern crossbows they can use really light arrows because they have such a long power stroke. They can take advantage of that increased velocity. But your steel prod crossbows that are like 1,250 pound pull, you can only pull them back maybe 8 inches. So they can push a ton of weight, but they can only generate so much acceleration, which is why you have short, heavy bolts, and why their range never really went past longbow. They all maxed out as far as they can go.
Barrel length in normal weapons, so to speak, of today. The long barrel, like barrel length in rifles and cannons and stuff. The longer barrel you have, you can because
you're generating power over a longer distance.
Yeah, exactly. So you can have like look at a tank gun compared to short range artillery or mortars or something like that. You get an enormous amount of velocity out of it, stuff like that. Or sniper rifle has a really long barrel for the same reason.
Right. And it was weird to see that the weight, the heavier the pull on the bow, the thicker the string you needed, and that slowed the bow down. The heavier the material on the prod, and that slowed the shot down. And it also when the prod reaches maximum and that string goes tight, the heavier the prods, the heavier the string needs to be able to sustain it. It's like it's a vicious circle of paradoxical factors. It's very
and when you use it underwater, you want to have heavy projectiles with a very, very, very thin cross section, so to speak, small cross section but heavy. That will work much better. That's why torpedoes, even in modern torpedoes, are as big as the old ones, because that makes sense.
I'm gonna have to step out real quick.
No problem, Tim.
I'm on call.
Tim's on call. He needs to go.
This was kind of a lot of deep dive into weapons.
It's okay.
Stuff, but it's kind of it's you should, as a DM, I think you should have some of these things in the back of your mind, and then you should cherry pick, and you should kind of how do I want to depict this type of action in my campaign, and what kind of emphasis do I want to have, so to speak? Do I want to have rudimentary combat and get the story done, or do I want to get messy and intricate in combat? It's the trade-offs one way or the other. And the same thing with game systems. They emphasize different things. That means that you always sacrifice something else when you because there's only so much time you can attention you can get at the game table. So you need to spend it where you think it's fun for you and your players.
And that's so true. So you take your. Are you guys going to talk about mages there? Mystifier classes, magic missiles. Yeah, well, we can discuss that at a future time. We were limiting this to the actual bow, shooters and stuff. Magic missile is such a Troy. Such a basic spell.
Yeah,
doesn't miss. Right, it's the easiest spell in the world to if you have a brooch of shielding or mirror images up, you can get rid of all the images. It's
we have Melf's arrow. We have to talk about that one too.
Well, that's the one you got to roll to hit it on the fighter table. Yes, and if you're Luke, you can't use it in my game because you're always trying to shoot it out of range. I'm just kidding.
And that seems to think. Are there any in first edition where you have to roll it to hit roll as wizard?
Melf's arrow.
Okay.
A lot of spells are to hit. Yep. A lot of them may be based on class 10, but they're to hit. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that became a routine in third edition and onwards. Wizards have an attack bonus, so to speak, that you put on to.
And they can roll when they cast.
Yeah.
I don't know the pluses on those. I've never used Oriental Adventures in my game. I don't even know if we're allowed to say Oriental Adventures anymore. I'm just kidding. But
Oh yes, you.
yeah,
are allowed to.
I should.
The book is called that way. So
yeah. But so we really didn't talk about this. And one last thing is that I don't like shooting into melee combat, and we've seen the effects. My rule is this: house rule. Combat's not static, so you got the melee guys moving all around, and you're an archer, and you're shooting at the target who's fighting your friend. Okay? No problem. If you miss, you are re-rolling that to hit roll against your friend's rear armor class. That's just the way I do it in my game, and they all know it. I still do it, so be it.
yeah.
Okay? And
My rule has been that if you fumble or roll like a 1, then or miss by PF2, if you miss by 10, then you hit the enemy, and you don't have to you or hit the friend, so to speak.
I've seen some game systems where you take a penalty to hit the bad guy erring on the side of missing your friend. So if you take the penalty, then you can do it without hitting
That's an
him.
interesting way. You'd be more careful. Yeah. But the way I usually advocate when I PF1 3.5, then if you fumbled, you rolled a 1 basically. Then you hit the
Hops.
and so you didn't have to make a re-roll
Paul!
or anything like that.
Paul Dirtle, Hops and Dragons. Paul, who was on the last DM's roundtable. Good to see you tonight, man. 31. Hang out. We're finishing up our discussion here. Thank you so very much, Paul. I know I have a shout out for you. Please go follow Hops and Dragons. Great discussion. They're always on Thursday night right before we go live. So I'm trying to get on Paul's show that night. Hopefully it'll work out at some point in the future. But great to see you all here. We have 3 giveaways coming up tonight. 2 from, two. So hang out,
David,
please.
David, I can answer that question. When you come on the show? Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Fun times.
That we can answer that question.
Yeah.
You can answer it.
That's a good see. Anna got you there. So shooting melee combat, my game's bad. Tim, what do you do?
I well, shoot. It usually doesn't happen because it usually doesn't happen. Either one, because you're the player. you guys have been operantly conditioned not to do it. Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking about my kids playing. My other people I've gamed with, they just generally don't. When it's a risk, they don't do it.
Right.
I think because they end up firing missile weapons until finally it's time to switch. So it doesn't happen much. But your rule is pretty good. It's a pretty cut and dried rule.
Okay. Wow. Did you actually say I do something well, Tim?
No, I did not say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
And here,
it's awesome.
But another one.
No, as far as a game mechanic, that's a sensible. It makes some sense. It's a sensible, like, hey, and you're right. There's a lot of movement. It's very dangerous to do that.
Yep.
And I've heard a lot of instances in military and anytime dealing with firearms, it's
friendly fire.
It's very dangerous to shoot past someone, even if they're not in combat. You're shooting near them. It's so dangerous.
Yep.
So Calico Jack, we don't like retribution within the party. This is what normally happens, and I allow it in gameplay. And you may have seen it last night. Bones, Bones' character Devin was standing there. They're fighting this Chimera. They're all severely damaged. Myriad's character, her half-orc fighter, Kazara, has 2 hit points left. Fighting that was a great mace. And Bones is back and is like, we got to get this down. I'm going to shoot. And Kazara's like, do it, right? That tends to be what happens in my game. Now, sometimes we get the archer who goes a little nuts and is like all over the place in the melee. And then when you hit your friends in the back 2 or 3 times, you realize this is not a good idea. Because I sometimes, that armor class gets a couple spots lower. You know what I'm saying? The DM, something happened. Wow, he's got higher decks now, the one you're trying to shoot at, So I try to teach the lessons right off the bat to the players so that we don't want players fighting amongst themselves, right? That's not fun for anyone, but just note. So size is a difference too, Jay. Patrick, that's kind of too personal. But I'm just kidding. Patrick didn't even realize what he just said there. So, yes. Yes, it's like, do you
Well,
trust
no,
me?
I think
Yeah,
I would say if you're shooting at a frost giant who's fighting your 6 foot tall friends, I would allow someone to shoot at the frost giant without hitting his friends
Oh
because
yeah, if they're like 2 size
they're
difference,
15 feet tall.
yeah,
I think that's okay.
yeah, someone who is 2 sizes larger then wouldn't be a problem, so to speak.
Right. If there's room and they can easily hit, there's no
Yeah.
chance shooting up
Right.
at his head that I'm going to hit.
Yeah,
my friend.
all rules have to be used kind of
judiciously and
exactly. Yes.
honestly, and you need to
Yeah.
have it so that there's balance, and you need to
Yeah.
have it so that your characters aren't at each other's throats. No one wants that, right?
Yeah.
So
One other
Oh, it's
question.
so dangerous. I mean, it is dangerous. I mean, in melee,
Yeah.
you just and you're throwing that arrow. It's just
Yeah.
not good.
I was thinking one other issue that comes up often with bows and crossbows is that how difficult it is to switch to melee weapon once the combat get close, so to speak. What are your rules for that?
I allow it as a free action just because of the way our miniatures rules is set with group initiative.
Okay.
So
yeah, so
they see the person running toward them.
yeah.
They can, they're gonna
So
put that down,
you can
put out
simply
the
just
weapon.
use it,
It's just
that's the way
yeah.
5e is written. Normally, what I usually try to educate is that you can use a bonus action to change weapons. Meaning, if you use up your bonus action, then you have to use a regular action. And if you use up the regular action and the bonus action, then you can't change weapon that round, so to speak. That's my and in third edition or PF1, then you had to basically use up an action in order to switch weapon, or you can just drop it. But if you want to stow the missile weapon like a bow or a crossbow, then you have to use an action to do it, so to speak, in order to. So you had to attack one less or something. And in PF2, it was kind of simple because you had 3 actions and switching weapon was 1 action, and that was it, so to speak. So you could do 3 things. So you move, attack, or do anything else. Each of them were an action. So that was kind of simple. But in 5e, I want to say that changing weapon is a bonus action you can use. So it doesn't normally hurt you, but if you want to do a lot of stuff, then you can change weapon on top of it, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't like shooting a bow at someone in melee combat with them. That is out. Okay.
I allow that well, yeah, but the
I like
thing
the
is
one
that,
shot.
yeah, but if you within and that's what was in 3.5 PF1 era. If you did that and you were in danger of, if somebody could hit, an enemy could hit you, they got an attack opportunity against you, so to speak, unless you were a master bowman or had a feat that could say that you were damn good at it.
If you didn't have an arrow on the string, there is no way you could ever do it.
Right.
You could never do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
impossible.
I'm gonna caveat this with the unless thing. I'm not bashing any other editions. Every evocation spellcaster can sculpt their spells, right? Every bow specialist is going to take that, so that never happens, right? They never get to that spot where something bad will happen to that effect, and that's why I don't care for it. Does that make sense?
What are you talking about?
Like, for example, you can throw fireballs into combat and not hit your own friends.
But
in
what
5th
about
edition.
missile weapons? That was
once again, every bow person who's going to be shooting at that is going to have that ability, so that they don't have to worry about it. And that's what.
Oh, you mean you could take a feat or something,
right?
To
and
say that you don't hit friends.
Right. That's why I don't.
Okay, gotcha.
Every single one would end up taking that. So
now, even with that specialty of thaumaturgic geometry, if I let you do that, you still are only creating a shape. You're not isolating pockets of your buddies.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, that's for another time. And I'm just saying that's kind of the same way I look at it. I think I have a happy medium with what I've done on that, and some people may have a little different thing, but.
For a short bow, if you have a carrier, you can take a half action to put your short bow in your carrier and a half action to get your other weapon out.
Okay.
And then if you have a longbow, you're a longbowman. Your bow's out. There's no place to put it. You're going to drop it as a free action and then pull your weapon out.
Right.
If say a spear or whatever, you gotta.
Hopefully, Anna's okay. Oh, dog issue. Oh,
she needed to get down.
Oh, okay. Minnie needed to get down.
Oh yeah, she just needed.
Okay, let me make sure she's all right.
She called for the escalator.
Yeah, she's She used to tell me, but now she's getting lazy, so she just scratches the other end and and waits for me to come and
So,
help
so
her. Yeah.
we've gone over it a lot tonight. You know, and just note once again, whatever edition you play, take some ideas here and there, tweak it for your own game. It's that
Mhm.
simple. Take a
Yep.
class, take an ability, take a type of weaponry. I mean, I love varying weapon types, melee ones, missile ones. I love it. I love flavor in my classes. I don't want all my weapons to do 1d6, right? I just don't, or 1d8, whatever it is. I like that a longsword does 1d12 against large. I love it that a two-handed sword does 1d10 and 3d18 against large. I just love that stuff because I want flavor. I want the characters to feel like their fighter is different than any other fighter in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and or their archer's got a little nuance to them, or the bandit is, you know, I'm a scimitar wielder. I don't want to use a longsword. I want to use a scimitar. I love all that stuff. So just what is your summation of this discussion tonight, Anna?
Well, I think we've gone over a lot of these kind of weird issues, and I think ranged combat overall is a little bit more tricky in most games than close-up melee combat. It's a bit like Magic in that way. It has more pitfalls, and you have a tendency of wanting to introduce a lot of different physics and stuff like that, and it gets more technical and stuff. So again, my advice is think of what you want to emphasize in your game and what you want to spend that attention budget on, so to speak. If you want to get gritty in mass combat or sniping or whatever it is, add some rules for that. Otherwise, skip it and just use generalized, simple versions of it.
Very cool. Anna, I really appreciate your input on this. And note that, you know, Anna's gone from 3rd edition to Pathfinder 2,
Fifth.
1 and 2 to
Yeah.
5th. And are you staying at 5th still, or are you going to Castles and Crusades?
No, I'm staying. I'm probably staying 5th and level up, which is advanced 5e. That is basically just one little flavor difference. It's basically the same difference from 3.5 to 5, or to Pathfinder 1. So it has a few tweaks here and there, but no biggie. So 5th edition. But I will probably house rule it here and there, like changing weapons using a bonus action and stuff like that. So here and there. So yeah.
Very, very cool. I appreciate the discussion tonight, Anna. We're going to do shout outs and then we'll do the giveaways. Yeah. Tim, summation.
Missile weapons are cool. They're still used today because they're better than trying to get up close to people. So your characters should use them if they can.
Okay. I like that. That's very simple. Should just use them if they can. So 5e with house rules is smooth as yours. Matt Melman, I love to hear that your house ruling stuff, because to be an excellent archer, you need to sacrifice close combat, and that is absolutely the case, Patrick, with the Len Lakofka Archer, where it all started. Len had it right from day one. Think about that. 1981. Len, I wish a lot of you had gotten to know Len, like Anna and myself and Tim and a lot of the people here, 18 months ago to 2 years ago, got to know Len because he was such a genius to D&D. And there's stuff in those books we don't even know what he did, because he would do editing and not get credit for it. Like Nistel's Magic R, that's his spell. And no one knows that, and that's a shame. We had to pull it out of Len to find out all this great detail. And that was one of the things we were able to pull out of it. And so, your tomahawk missiles coming out of those trident. I can imagine, especially with the nuke on them, or the they can go through a football goalpost at 500 miles. So yeah. But thank you everyone for this. Let's do some shout outs. So Tim, what's going on with you, man?
Well, I need to set some dates for the next underdog situation and finish my sea match.
You do.
Finish my Order of the Arrow stuff that I was doing, and schedule a city-state one, but I have no dates yet.
We don't have dates.
I want to step away real quick.
Go ahead. Go for it.
I got it.
For me, please note that Well, I'll talk about during mine. So my brain just went off there. So Anna, what's going on?
Okay, yes. So the Flanny's Hipponaland 2022 edition, I think I'm gotten far enough that it will be a release candidate coming out this week, because I've got one last round of tweaks and stuff to do, and then I think it's ready. I'm not going to add more stuff, and we're going to see if there's any typos and stuff like that, and that's coming. So, and the work on the atlas has begun. And there will be about 100 pages. We're looking at 97 map pages on it, so it's be covering Hipponaland as well. And that might go up and down a little bit, because there's some, depending on if we want some of these little islands out there to be included or not, so to speak. So it's about tweaking it around. And the problem with it, there are some cities like Greyhawk City that is in the middle, and if that end up being on the borders of 4 maps, we might have to either add one special map covering that area, or move things around a bit. So that is that kind of adjustment period to get things in there. But that work is underway. My patrons will get an update on that during the week, and there will be the release candidate of the basic map and the full map of the Flannies and Hipponaland. And when that release candidate is out, then I'll spend the energy on Atlas, and also to do a hexed version. So I will spend probably a week or so creating 12, and we'll see if I can do both 12 and 30-mile hexes. We'll see how difficult it will be to do it, because it takes a long time to do these damn hexes. They consume enormous amount of computing power, because there are so many vertices and stuff in there. So for some reason, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. And I'm so glad I've got more patrons than ever. So thank you everyone to helping me out in this. There's another batch of heraldry coming and working on it. There's some interesting things, and I can also, I'm going to send it to Sarason, to Brian Bloomklotz first, an updated version of the Hardby heraldry that I think he might like too. And we have that one that I did for the Slav Squad. Yeah.
Anna said it too. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think that was kind of cool heraldry. It was a couple of tweaks here and there, but it was cool. And I got so much help with getting the right figure to start with, so to speak, and then tweak it.
And there's that Greenwood's 2-drink minimum, which I got.
Yeah, but that's much simpler. So those are
brand new.
The other one, I kind of like it. It's a bit jestery, and medieval and still kind of modern in a way. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and they all loved it. And that's what's most important. That group now has their own heraldic symbol, and that's a great thing. So
so that's basically what's up. So
awesome. So let's go through what I got going on. Wow, I don't know what to do with myself this week. I only got 3 streams. First time since before Christmas.
We can always add in something.
Once again, I got to stay married here. So Wednesday night, we start off the week. This is only going to be, I believe, more than likely, it's a 3-stream week, everyone. So sorry about that. So just rest. So Living Greyhawk, Verbabank, Meta Orgs. All right, so we got myself, Anna, and Mike Bridges, along with Casey Brown, Vernon Vincent, and Michael Mainza, and we're going to talk about all the organizations they had during the Living Greyhawk Verbabank era. I think it would be really neat, because this Verbabank area is where Temple of Elemental Evil is and stuff, and you could incorporate them into a game using that Temple of Elemental Evil. So, cool, excellent. I love to hear that, Calico, that people are putting this stuff up. So that is Wednesday. Thursday's game, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to do this a prelude into the fundraiser. I think I got it down, but it's not going to be 3 weeks long. It's going to be 2. So I got a blank week I got to do this upcoming week. So this is blank right now. This says to be determined. But I think it's going to be called Skeets' Shack, which is going to happen in Hardby, and it's a little bit of an idea that Tom gave me about his halfling character, and I think I'm going to work on that, and that's going to be a one-shotter in Hardby this Thursday. It is a Reaper Miniatures giveaway night, so just note that, but that'll be Thursday night, adventure number 943, and it'll be probably a one-night, one-shot. All right. Next Sunday's Gabbin is going to be a great one. we're going to have our 10th DM's Roundtable discussion. We have Robert Hartley, GM, MJ Russell, and DM Dave from Guild Superior on, and we're going to talk some cool things, D&D playstyles, and some other topics that we want to talk about, and take questions from the audience. So that'll be on next Sunday. All right, other things that are coming up in the future. There will be Dragons, the Greyhawk Mega Stream fundraiser event. 9 streams participating, plus Greyhawk Reborn, the 18th, 19th, and 20th of February. I still have room for a stream or 2 more, but the time slots are not good. I have Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, and I have late nights, Friday night, in the middle of the night, and in the middle of the night, Saturday into Sunday morning. So, yes, Greyhawk Reborn is on there, but note this is going to be a blast. We have unbelievable amount of giveaways. The Gabbin Prelude show for this will be Monday, February 14th, because if I have a Gabbin on the Super Bowl, I will not be able to live in my house anymore. So that is out. So there'll be no Gabbin in 2 weeks on Sunday. It'll be on Monday, that Prelude show. Monday night, the 14th, will be the Prelude show for this.
You can sacrifice Valentine's Day, but not the Super Bowl.
Yeah, my wife doesn't care. My wife doesn't care about Valentine's Day. That's just the way she is.
D&D are single anyway.
Yes. Just note that. So there will be Dragons, and we got a lot of great things to talk about. I'm looking forward. We're going to smash the $10,000 that we raised last year, $10,020, and that'll be it. And then, lastly, it's almost finalized. I don't have a banner up for it, but the next Ed Green, no, she doesn't, because she doesn't care about Valentine's Day. It's just, but we always sit and watch the Super Bowl together. We've done it since 25 to 26 years. The next Ed Greenwood game, the tentative date is 90% is Saturday, February 26th, the Saturday after the fundraiser. 2 Rick Merman will be back, and I announced this last night. 90%, the actor Todd Stashwick, if you look him up, he's got like 200 things he's done. He's been in CSIs, he's been in Law and Orders, The Riches, a lot of things, a lot of movies. He will be joining as a special guest this time. So our first Hollywooder playing in one of our games. We'll be playing with Ed. He just has to make sure that his acting schedule doesn't conflict, and if he does, we'll push it back a week or 2. But he's definitely in for the game. So that'll be he was in 12 Monkeys, the series too, Alex. Yep, he did a lot of things. Really good guy. Plays D&D, loves D&D. I've been talking to him. I said, hey, you want to play in this game? He's like, Ed Greenwood? Sure. So of course, who wouldn't want to play with Ed? But so that's a 90%er. Todd Stashwick, Stashwick. When you see a picture of him, you'll immediately know who he is. He's a character actor like Steve Buscemi. He's done a lot of different roles. So yeah. You can just go right on IMDb and check him out. He's a really good guy too, and he plays a lot of D&D. He has his own. He calls it Nerding with Todd. What do you call it? A podcast. He does a lot of things. Yeah, he's great, and I'm really excited about getting him in the game. More details to come on that. So let's hope that doesn't fall through, and he has to go somewhere out of town or whatever for acting. But he's excited about it. So. And that's what's going on. So let's do our giveaways here. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, cool. Don't hit the wrong button, Jay. Yep, Todd Stashwick. Last call. Closing it out. All right. Please note you get your choice of and Chuck hasn't given me the codes yet. He's supposed to give me the codes tonight, but if he doesn't, I'll be harassing him tomorrow. All right? Alcimine, you missed it. I'm resuming it. Redo it. You got 10 seconds. You're already in Sparky. Alcimine, you got to do it again, I think. So you got your choice. One of these two. Or one of the Adventurers backpacks in digital. All right. So that's what we'll do. All right. Here. Yep. Did you do it? All right. There you go. Watch. Winner. First winner. Justinius. Justinius, do you want Adventurer's Backpack from Troller Games or either Vortex of Madness or Tomb of Abyssor? You tell me. Justinius, congrats. All right. Next winner. Tolish. That is a name I do not know. Awesome. I'm assuming Justinius is still on, so I need to let him know, and that'll determine what everyone else gets. Tolish, Vortex, you got it. All right, Vortex of Madness. So Tolish. Troy, thanks, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And look at that, Kayla's rating right now too. So, Kayla just finished up your yes. Good to see you. We're just finishing. Let me hit this up here. I hope your game went very well, Kayla, and with Nuo Varden. I hope that went fantastic. We are just. So did Tolish claim? Let me see. Tolish is on, so I'm going to assume. Yeah, it's good to see you, Kayla and crew. We are just finishing up here. I got one more. So you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I got one more. I'm going to open it up and add one because I can do that. And let the Timeless Wife people get back into it. So I'm resuming the entries if you want to get into for an Adventurer's Backpack, but I'm going to add one. So we got two more to go. Okay. So, Time Lord's Wife people, if you want to go and put exclamation point drawing down, it's for a Troller Games Digital Adventures Backpack. Okay? Tolish, gotcha. That's good. Tolish, I need an email address, and I'll send you the information. Good. Whisper me email address, please. Whisper me. Email address is the best way for me to give you the code for Troller Games. Okay? And I will send it to you. All right? Got it. Thank you, DM B-Town. Okay, keep on going in. We got another 10 seconds. Two more Adventurers Backpacks coming. Okay? Two more Adventurers Backpacks. We're going to raid into Little Bones, who played last night. And her and Darling are playing games and playing in a D&D game. And you know how great they are. And so I already promised them that we would raid into them tonight. And I appreciate the other suggestions people made me in Whisper. Thank you so very much for that. And we would always consider them in a future time. So, but I already told them. Thank you, Tolish. I will get that out to you as soon as I get the code from Chuck, which will be a day at most. So I'll get that to you. All right, here we go. I'm going to close this out now. And thank you, Kayla, for the kind raid. And let me close this out here. So we got two more to give away. All right, here we go. Next winner. Wily Hobbit. Wily Hobbit.
Oh.
Do you have the Adventurer's Backpack, Wily? I don't know if he does. Oh, I don't see Wily on anymore. Wah, wah, wah.
Uh-oh.
All right, no, Wiley's not on. So unless he says something and it's not showing and not updating, we move on. I still got one more to give, but it looks like I may still have two more. Hey, it happens, man. Sometimes you got places to be. Signal 151. Oh, Raggy. Signal 151. I see Signal on. That's good. Signal, let me know. One more, since Wiley was not on to claim. And the last one. You got it. All right, Signal, do I have your email? Just whisper it to me. I may have it, but just re-whisper it to me, please. And I will get you that code. As lastly, we go to the last winner, and then we're going to raid into Bones, so please sit tight. Doorstop Idol. We got a bunch of new ones tonight. That is awesome. Doorstop Idol. Doorstop Idol, cool. You are on. Just claim it, and please whisper me your email address. I will get you the code for the Adventurer's Backpack from Castles and Crusades. Excellent. Okay, whisper both of you, please. Whisper me your email address. I will send them to you as soon as Truck from Troller Games gives me the codes, and he's usually very quick about it. We'll have that, and thank you all. Let's raid into Little Bones. Also, if you are looking for a second channel, you can have two channels open. Go into Darlings as well after you raid into Bones, and just have them both open. They're playing the same game. I just try and do that. So, all right. Thanks for Tim, Anna. Thanks for a great show again.
Oh, thank you.
It
That
was
was
a fun
I hope
discussion.
we're not going into too many rabbit holes.
It's good. It's a great
Yeah.
it's a great discussion. So
It's easily to act that arrow deflected.
Yeah.
yes, definitely. So once
Yeah.
again, Signal and Doorstop Idol, just make sure you whisper me your email addresses in Twitch, and we will get out that stuff to you. And let's raid here, and I'll see you Wednesday. Right? See you Wednesday for a great Legends and Lore discussion. 3 tonight is enough. 3 this week, and then we'll go from there. I will squeeze in a BattleTech game at some point, but I don't know when. You just got to let me figure this out so I don't get thrown out of my house. So thank you everyone, and thank you Hops and Dragons, thank you Stella, and thank you Thomas White for all rating him to me tonight. I really appreciate it, and I will return the favor as soon as possible for all of you. It's very kind of you all. We'll see you soon. Thanks for the great discussion tonight. Have a good one. Send it up. Little Bones 309, who played Devin last night and is awesome with it. Awesome play last night. That's a mistake. I hit. Oof. All right, give me 1 second here. It'll be 10 seconds. Little. She will be ecstatic when she sees, 80 to 90 people, over 100 going in.
Wow.
Man, she's gonna 105, 6. Wow. 108, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say hello. Remember, hit Darling Creep Show as well. We'll see you Wednesday night. Everyone have a great night. Thank you. Wow, she's gonna go nuts. Oh my
That was
God.
a huge audience.
That was huge.